Chapter 3260. The green-robed man had just returned and was furious. He did not expect the other party to attack again. This made his lungs about to explode. "You're courting death." With a furious roar, he counterattacked crazily. Buff, buff. However, the green-robed man's body was pierced again. The cracks on his body made it impossible for him to heal in a short period of time. "Damn it, what's going on? How is this possible?" The green-robed man screamed crazily. He had never encountered such a thing. Although his main body could not go out, when his clone went out, he could dominate the entire elf forest. No one had ever been his match. Even the octatic treasure snake did not dare to fight against him. But now the scene in front of him really shocked him. He even found it hard to believe. What kind of sword chi is this? "Damn it, I don't believe it." The green-robed man roared crazily. He activated the green bell and a terrifying aura rushed out like a long river. The entire void was torn into pieces like a piece of paper. Buzz. Lin Xin waved his sword chi and resisted it head-on. His sword chi was extremely terrifying, and every move carried the aura of a dragon. This was a shocking battle. In an instant, the two of them exchanged more than 100 moves. Each time, the green-robed man was injured. However, the green-robed man's recovery ability was too strong. After being injured so many times, he did not weaken at all. Instead, he became stronger and stronger. Boom. Boom. "Not good, kid, be careful. He seems to be plotting something." Suddenly, the dark red divine dragon screamed, and his expression became incomparably solemn. Lin Xin frowned and looked in all directions. The green-robed man laughed loudly. "Haha, you know it too late. Now, the array formation has been broken. Soon I'll escape. At that time, let's see how you'll die." It turned out that the battle between Lin Xin and the green-robed man affected a wide range, and the power was too strong. The array formation here was specially used to seal the green-robed man, so the green-robed man's attacks were helpless. However, Lin Xin was different. Lin Xin was an outsider. His sword chi was blasted in all directions, finally causing cracks to appear in the array formation. It was about to shatter. At this moment, the green-robed man absorbed all the sword chi and swept it in all directions. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the formation and a huge crack appeared. The formations in the surroundings shattered one after another. It was as if the shackles binding the entire space had been broken. The green-robed man let out a long howl. His aura soared into the sky, covering a radius of millions of miles. He stood in the void like a fiend god and roared at the sky. "Free, I'm finally free. Brat, I have to thank you for this." He was simply too happy. The dark red dragon's face darkened. What should he do? "Don't worry," Lin Xin said coldly. He didn't expect this formation to do anything. Even if the other party escaped, so what? Killing him was as easy as flipping his hand. Lin Xin soared into the sky, the aura in his body burst forth, transforming into a terrifying dragon roar, enveloping his entire body. "Damn brat, you dare to attack me?" The green-robed man lowered his head and looked down with a ferocious smile. "Previously, due to the formation, I couldn't use my full strength at all. Now, I'll let you see my true strength." He formed a seal with his palms. Suddenly, the green bell below expanded like a green mountain. It shook gently, and millions of people were completely shattered by the sound waves. "Go to hell." A dragon-shaped sword appeared in Lin Xian's hand, erupting with a sharp light. A dragon's roar resounded through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The sword slashed out and landed on the huge bell. With a bang, the bell was sent flying and countless cracks appeared on it. "Damn it, how is this possible?" The green-robed man's voice stopped. It was as if someone had grabbed his neck. His eyes were wide open as if he had seen a ghost. Cracked, his Dharma treasure actually cracked. This was simply too unbelievable. One had to know that his Dharma treasure was very close to a sacred artifact. However, at this moment, it was cracked by the other party's sword. What kind of sword chi is that? In the next moment he lowered his head. When he saw the light sword flickering with a dragon-shaped aura, his entire body trembled. "Damn it, what is that? Why do I feel so scared?" The green-robed man was stunned. Oh no. He turned around and wanted to leave. However, how could Lin Xin give him the chance? He slashed out with his sword and rushed into the sea of clouds. The terrifying sword chi drowned the entire world. With a splurt, the sword pierced through the green-robed man's body. "Do you think that I can't do anything to you without the formation?" Lin Xian's voice was cold. The sword chi on his body was monstrous. He was like a god of death, releasing a biting cold sword intent. "Impossible, damn it, how can you make it so that my body can't heal?" The green-robed man's body began to tremble. This time he could barely maintain his shape. The large cracks on his broken body could not be removed at all. Damn it, I don't believe it. Fuse. The green-robed man roared and quickly fused. In the next moment he temporarily suppressed the cracks on his body and charged over. His entire body turned into a green bolt of lightning and rushed towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian scoffed coldly, not knowing what was good for him. Boom. The dragon-shaped sword chi slashed out, and his body bloomed with light. This sword directly split the green-robed man into pieces again. The green bell in his body was also shaken out. This time the cracks on it were even larger. Then, with a boom, it shattered into pieces. The green-robed man also vomited blood and was sent flying. His body scattered all over the ground. Impossible, damn it, this is impossible. His broken body screamed crazily on the ground. His head was extremely ferocious, as if he had gone mad. He really could not believe that the other party was so powerful. More importantly, his body could not heal. One had to know that he had seen attacks that were stronger than the other party. Those attacks could instantly turn him into a bloody mist, but he could quickly recover. Now that he was seriously injured and could not recover, that was what terrified him the most. The immortal body that he was so proud of could not be used. Immortal body? It's nothing in front of me. Lin Xian snorted coldly and charged in front of him. He swung out thousands of sword chi and pierced the body again. In the end, the other party was turned into a bloody mist. And in the bloody mist, a green stone appeared in the void. A terrifying aura flowed on it, bringing with it a powerful vitality. A Dao stone. And it was a wood Dao stone. Su Chen's eyes burst with a piercing cold light. He reached out his golden hand and directly grabbed the wood Dao stone in his hand. Then he grabbed it forcefully and pulled it in front of him. He got it? Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. This trip could be considered complete. In the distance, when the dark red divine dragon saw this scene, it also heaved a sigh of relief. Ah, damn it, you dare to steal my Dao stone? Give it back. Chapter 3261. Accompanied by a furious roar, the blood mist quickly condensed into a ball of green light. Then, it turned into the figure of the green-robed man. This time there were no more cracks on the other party's body. From the looks of it, the other party must have used some secret technique to forcefully heal. However, the other party's aura was weaker than before. Kid, do you think that my recovery ability is strong because I have the Dao stone? You're too naive. Even without the Dao stone, I'm still incomparably strong. Moreover, without the Dao stone, my attack power is stronger than before. I'm still immortal. The green-robed man roared crazily. The aura on his body suddenly soared. Lin Xian coldly snorted. With a wave of his hand, the dragon-shaped sword shadow shot out. It turned into a giant dragon that circled in the sky. Suppress. With a cold shout, the giant dragon charged towards the green-robed man. The green-robed man's body trembled. He felt that he was being suppressed and could not use any strength at all. The body that had just condensed was pierced by thousands of sword chi and nailed to the ground. Great Dragon Sword Spirit. Damn it, could it be the Great Dragon Sword? He screamed crazily. When he saw the dragon-shaped sword shadow, he remembered a legend. There was a sword in the world that had a strong attack power that could destroy everything. That sword was called the Great Dragon Sword. However, the Great Dragon Sword had disappeared for tens of thousands of years. But now it had reappeared? Thinking of this, the green-robed man instantly understood. No wonder the other party was so strong. No wonder the other party could injure him. It was because of the Great Dragon Sword. Damn it, you're actually the descendant of the Great Dragon. He was terrified. Let me go. If the two of us work together, we can definitely sweep through the entire star field. Your attack is strong and my recovery is unparalleled. If the two of us work together, we're definitely the strongest. The green-robed man said. Lin Xian did not say anything. The dark red dragon walked up and sneered. You want to cooperate with us? You overestimate yourself. He smashed the other party's head with his dragon claw. With a bang, the other party's head was smashed into pieces. However, it soon began to slowly merge back together. It was covered with cracks. Damn it, you can't kill me. I'm an immortal existence. I can actually heal. The dark red dragon was surprised. Fuck you. He began to swing his dragon claws, striking out 40,000 times in an instant, hitting his opponent directly. His body shattered and he turned into a bloody mist. He had received 40,000 strong attacks. But gradually the wounds healed and there were many cracks on his body. There were small cracks on it. It was extremely frightening. Damned snake, don't let me find a chance. Otherwise I will tear you into pieces. A sharp voice could be heard. Lin Xian coldly snorted. Cut the crap, I'll send you on your way now. A piercing light burst forth from his eyes. The great dragon sword spirit released millions of rays of light that completely enveloped the green-robed man. Oh! The green-robed man screamed. He might not be afraid of other people's attacks, but he had no way of blocking the great dragon sword's attack. The other party could really obliterate him. Don't kill me, I'll tell you a secret, a huge secret. Please let me go. The green-robed man screamed. His aura was much weaker than before. Lin Xian waved his hand and stopped. Instead he asked coldly, secret? What secret? If I tell you, will you let me go? You don't have the right to bargain with me now. Tell me first. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The green-robed man gritted his teeth. This elven planet was not ordinary, there was a shocking treasure on it. There was an immortal divine medicine on this planet, something that even great emperors would covet. With it, you will be able to live for a second lifetime and live for tens of thousands of years. Spare me and I will bring you to find the immortal divine medicine. How about it? Immortal divine medicine. The dark red divine dragon exclaimed as its eyes lit up. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The immortal divine medicine was indeed magical, but that thing wasn't something he could obtain now. It was something exclusive to great emperors. Once someone obtained it and the news spread, it would definitely cause the various worlds to chase after them crazily. Moreover, Lin Xian was no longer a youth who didn't know anything. He knew that the immortal divine medicine itself was very powerful. Without extraordinary strength, it was impossible to obtain it. Not to mention the two of them, even if two saints worked together, they might not be able to catch the immortal divine medicine. The immortal divine medicine is indeed very tempting, but it's a pity that it's useless to me. If you can tell me the whereabouts of the other Dao Stone, I can consider sparing your life. Lin Xian's current priority was to obtain the Dao Stone. Damn it, you don't want the immortal divine medicine? You want the Dao Stone? How would I know what a Dao Stone is? Indeed, he had been suppressed for countless years, so how would he know about the outside world? Not to mention the Dao Stone. He had obtained this with Dao Stone by chance. Since you don't know, there's nothing to talk about. Now, I'll send you on your way. Lin Xian continued to activate the great dragon sword soul. No, damn it, listen to me. The green-robed man wanted to say something, but in the next moment, his voice was swallowed by the merciless sword light. When everything disappeared, a bottomless void appeared on the ground. The green-robed man's soul had long been destroyed, and not even a drop of blood was left behind. Lin Xian let out a breath and recalled the great dragon sword soul back into his body. In the next moment he revealed a smile. Great. The wood Dao Stone was in his hands. Now he already had 2 crystals in his hands. Moreover, he had obtained an unexpected surprise on this trip to the elven planet, which was the Eye of Time. This was definitely a good life-saving item. Let's go, let's leave. Lin Xian waved his hand and called out to the dark red divine dragon and the snow-white monkey. But at this moment, the void shattered and an incomparably black spear instantly streaked across, charging towards Lin Xian. Not good. Lin Xian's pupils constricted as he felt an incomparable sense of danger. In this situation he couldn't dodge, so he could only resist head-on. The 9-yang divine body blossomed with light as it resisted the black spear. In an instant, the black spear collided with his body and with a bang, endless demonic chi erupted. Black clouds rolled and pitch-black demonic patterns appeared on them, flickering with a demonic light. Damn it, there's actually someone else. The dark red divine dragon's expression also changed, but he wasn't too worried. Lin Xian's 9-yang divine body was extremely powerful. This bit of attack shouldn't be able to do anything to the other party. But just as he thought about it, he was stunned. His eyes even widened. He couldn't believe it. This was because the black spear had pierced through Lin Xian's body and sent Lin Xian flying. Damn it, this was impossible. The dark red divine dragon screamed. How was this possible? The 9-yang divine body was pierced through? This shouldn't be. The 9-yang divine body was so powerful and had an unparalleled physique. Even a quasi-sacred artifact couldn't penetrate it at all. However, this scene left him extremely shocked. Could it be that this was a sacred artifact? The successor of the 9-yang divine body was only SOSO. He was like an ant, unable to withstand a single blow. Chapter 3262. The void within 1,000,000 miles had completely turned into darkness. Demonic clouds surged as if black clouds were pressing down on the city, making it hard for people to breathe. A stalwart, pitch-black man descended from the sky. He floated in the air and looked down with a cold gaze. There was indeed someone. the dark red divine dragon exclaimed. The other party's aura was too powerful, and his demonic aura was overflowing. Who exactly was this person? He thought about it and realized that he had never heard of this person before. Lin Xian is in danger. Little White was also a little anxious. Damn it, who are you? Why did you ambush us? The dark red divine dragon roared, his voice resounding through the 9 heavens. There was actually a dragon? That demon godlike figure looked at the dark red divine dragon, his eyes shining. You should be his companion, right? Looks like you'll have to go to hell with him. Damn it, do you think you can be arrogant just because you have a sacred artifact? The dark red divine dragon's face turned cold. Wait a minute, his expression suddenly froze. Such monstrous demonic clouds, such domineering words, and they were specifically targeting Lin Xian. He had addressed Lin Xian as the successor of the 9 sons when he first came up. Could it be that this is? The dark red divine dragon sucked in a breath of cold air. Could it be that you are the great demon? You can actually recognize me, it seems that you have some knowledge. The great demon sneered. Damn it, it really is the great demon. The dark red divine dragon's face turned completely cold. He didn't expect to encounter a great demon here. Could it be that the other party was on this planet? Or was the other party here to kill Lin Xian? One had to know that not only was Lin Xian the successor of the great dragon, but he was also the successor of the 9 sons. And the great demon was the sworn enemy of the 9 sons' lineage. Previously, when Lin Xian obtained the 9 sons' inheritance at Black Demon Cliff, he already knew about this. The previous generation's 9 sons Sword Saint and the Great Demon had perished together on Black Demon Cliff. Before this, the 9 sons' lineage and the Great Demon lineage were also fighting each other and could be said to be sworn enemies. Who would have thought that the Great Demon would actually find Lin Xian again? It seemed that things were going to be troublesome. Every Great Demon was an extremely terrifying and earth-shattering Great Demon. Therefore he couldn't help but worry about Lin Xian. So you're a Great Demon. A coughing sound came from afar, followed by a cold voice. The Great Demon turned around and forgot that he was still alive. He noticed that Lin Xian had stood up. Lin Xian was pierced through by the black spear from the left side of his body and out from the right. At this moment Lin Xian stood up, blood flowing from his body. He reached out with his large golden hand and grabbed the black spear. With a forceful pull he pulled the spear out. Then he nailed the spear into the ground. Light blossomed from his body as the law of wood and the longevity art rapidly circulated. The 9 young divine body instantly recovered. To be able to recover so quickly. The Great Demon was slightly stunned. You were actually able to easily erase the demonic chi on it? He was simply too surprised. With a wave of his hand, the Great Demon summoned the black spear from the ground and held it in his hand. Then the black spear drilled into his hand and disappeared. Using the Great Destruction Spear to deal with you is a waste of talent. Come, successor of the 9 young divine body, let me see how strong you are. The Great Demon's body fell down. Lin Xian didn't say anything else. His eyes flickered and his body shone brightly. He used the 9 young divine body to the extreme. As he took a step forward, the void within 1,000,000 miles started to crumble rapidly under the might of his foot. It was too terrifying. At this moment, Lin Xian used the 9 young divine body with all his might, making him look like a golden god of war. He stomped his foot and turned into a beam of light that shot into the sky. Boom. He waved his fist like the sun, shining in all directions. The dazzling light made it impossible for people to open their eyes. At this moment even a half-saint would be frightened and their scalps would go numb. A cold light burst out from the Great Demon's eyes. What a powerful aura. It seems that you've cultivated the 9 young divine body well. I hope you won't disappoint me. He laughed sinisterly and attacked decisively. He sent out dozens of palm shadows in a row. The terrifying palm carried a monstrous demonic aura, and it was like 1,000,000 demonic mountains that fell down. The sky was clearly divided into 2 halves. The space where Lin Xian was shrouded in light and flames. The space where the Great Demon was filled with demonic aura and was incomparably dark. Boom, boom, boom. Their attacks collided in the sky, and countless thunderous sounds spread out from the 2 of them to millions of miles away. At this moment no place was intact. The dark red divine dragon had long retreated. He knew that this was a fated battle and he couldn't interfere at all. He could only retreat a few meters away and watch the battle nervously. The snow-white monkey also jumped on his body, and its big black eyes stared ahead without blinking. In front of them Lin Xian and the Great Demon had turned into 2 black shadows that kept colliding. Every strike was extremely terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the two of them quickly separated and stood in different places. Although it was only a blink of an eye, the two of them had already exchanged close to 100,000 blows. Lin Xian stood in the void, the 9-yang divine fire burning all over his body, and the law of fire surrounding him. He became incomparably solemn. This was the great demon. He was too powerful. He was so strong that it exceeded his expectations. To be honest, he had never seen an opponent who was so powerful that he could be on par with him. Although it was only a short exchange, he could clearly feel that the other party was very strong, far stronger than the green monster from before. As expected of an old enemy, Lin Xian didn't have the slightest carelessness. After all, the previous successor of the 9-yang divine body was killed by the great demon. Not bad, not bad. To be able to block my attack, it really surprised me. The great demon's eyes burst with a biting cold light, and his demonic aura surged into the sky. With a roar, he charged over like a demon king. Berserk demonic aura tore heaven and earth apart. Behind him, the black demonic aura was like a huge black waterfall, falling from the sky and sweeping over. It was densely packed and blotted out the sky and earth. The sky was collapsing and the earth was shattering. The great demon just rushed over directly and didn't use any divine abilities, and it was already so terrifying. In my opinion, you're just SOSO. Today I'll kill you. Lin Xian also let out a long roar. The boundless flames on his body burned fiercely, engulfing half the sky. The law of fire fragment accompanied him, waving non-stop. The two of them fought together again. The earth trembled and the sky collapsed. It had already affected a radius of millions of miles. The dark red divine dragon had already been pushed further away. His expression was incomparably solemn. Too powerful. Each of these two people was a peerless powerhouse, a top genius. Any one of them could sweep through an area on the ancient starry sky path. Chapter 3263. The Elven Planet was a very special world. The forest here was vast, so there were many spirit herbs and resources. Other than Lin Xian and the other experts also liked to come to this place. At this moment, many cultivators descended from the sky and landed on the Elven Planet on their spirit boats. There were quite a number of these people, and they came from the 8 great families of the 8 worlds. At this moment, they had joined forces and were preparing to explore the Elven Forest. Countless powerhouses and prodigies came out of the spirit boats and flew down quickly. Many of them laughed. There are many spirit herbs here. Last time, I picked a 10,000-year-old spirit herb here. This time there are so many of us, we might have even more gains. A 10,000-year-old spirit herb? When the surrounding prodigies heard this, their eyes burned with passion. Don't worry, we will definitely be able to pick 10,000-year-old spirit herbs this time. Otherwise we won't be willing to go back. Many people laughed out loud. Of course, some older generation figures said that they had to be careful. The Elven Planet was very primitive and ancient, and there were many unknown creatures and beasts. They couldn't be careless. Don't worry, Elder, we know. The young prodigies nodded, but their eyes were disapproving. They were all prodigies of their families and were extremely dazzling existences in a star world. The weakest among them had comprehended a power that was close to the Tao, and many of them had reached the half-sage realm. A few of them had even participated in the Abyss ranking, and they had achieved extraordinary results in the ranking. Among them there were 3 orange-ranked top 10, and there was even 1 purple-ranked. With so many of them together, there was no need for the older generation of the family to come, and they were enough to sweep through everything. But at this moment, a handsome man frowned slightly. I received news that Ziyuhao seems to have come to the Elven Planet as well. Let's not meet him. As soon as these words came out, many people were moved. Ziyuhao was ranked 10th in the Abyss rankings. His strength was extremely terrifying, and they didn't dare to fight him head-on. However, a beautiful girl laughed. Don't worry, with senior brother and around, that Ziyuhao isn't that scary. That's true. They looked at the figure in front of them and immediately felt at ease. And Xiongfei was ranked 11th on the Abyss rankings. Although he was ranked behind Ziyuhao, the two of them were only 1 rank apart. Moreover, and Xiongfei's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds recently. It could be said that he was full of ambition. Among their 8 great families, it was already spread that Xiongfei absolutely had the strength to defeat Ziyuhao. In fact, if he participated in the Abyss ranking this time, he would definitely be able to increase his ranking by more than 2 places. Therefore, with Xiongfei around, even if they encountered Ziyuhao, they were not afraid. Furthermore, apart from Xiongfei, they still had many geniuses and senior cultivators on their side. No matter how powerful Ziyuhao was, could he do anything to them? Thinking of this, they all smiled. The group of people quickly turned into streams of light and shuttled into the forest. However, as soon as they arrived at the elf forest, they were stunned before they could even pick the spiritual herbs. Their expressions became incomparably grave. That was because there was an incomparably intense light coming from the depths of the forest. Half of the demonic chi was overflowing, almost covering half of the elf forest. On the other side, a brilliant light shone as if a sun had fallen into the mortal world. What's going on? What happened? Could it be a unique treasure of heaven and earth? A peerless treasure was about to appear? The young geniuses cried out in surprise, while the eyes of the others burned with passion. Such a worldly anomaly was definitely a rare treasure. Let's go and take a look. Everyone be careful. A senior half-saint warned in a deep voice. The group of people moved forward quickly. They left the outside and set off towards the depths of the elf forest. As soon as they stepped into the depths of the elf forest, their bodies stiffened and they stopped there. They felt an incomparably terrifying energy in front of them that swept in all directions. Moreover, the forest in front of them had long been reduced to ashes. There were terrifying large cracks everywhere in the sky, each of which could swallow a person. The violent energy swept in all directions. It was chaos. The ground was even more cracked and there were no trees left, let alone other treasures of heaven and earth. All of them were reduced to ashes. Damn it, someone was fighting. Those senior cultivators were shocked, and the young warriors' scalps were numb. What kind of person could affect tens of millions of miles? They were really stunned. They did not dare to go forward. Among them, and Xiongfei's eyes were wide open as he stared straight ahead. He looked at the monstrous demonic chi with an incomparably grave expression. Could it be that person? Young master knew who it was? The other senior half-saints also frowned and asked. They did not know. And Xiongfei nodded. Someone had seen such a monstrous demonic chi before. It was said that an extremely terrifying figure had appeared. The moment he appeared, he killed many young geniuses and half-saints, causing everyone to tremble. In the end, someone investigated and said that it was done by the legendary Great Demon. Great Demon? Are you talking about the one in the demon race? Many seniors felt their scalps go numb when they heard this. They were no strangers to such legends. After all, great demons were extremely terrifying existences. That's right, and Xiongfei also nodded with difficulty. The others gasped. They didn't expect that the legendary Great Demon would actually appear and engage in a life-and-death battle with someone else on this planet. But what made them even more puzzled was that the one with the monstrous demonic chi was the Great Demon, so who was the person with the golden light? What kind of person could fight with the Great Demon? And from the looks of it, they were evenly matched. They didn't know. Hence, they were all prepared to go and watch. But they had just flown tens of thousands of miles when an extremely dazzling light suddenly erupted in front of them. The berserk energy was like a wave that could destroy the world, sweeping towards them. Not good. Retreat. These people retreated crazily. The void that they had just stood in was shattered. The young cultivators were so frightened that their bodies trembled. Previously, they were full of confidence and didn't put anyone in their eyes. They thought that nothing here could threaten them. But now, facing the aftermath of the battle between these two, they didn't even have the ability to resist. The difference was simply too great. Watching from afar, those seniors also sighed and used their respective divine abilities, wanting to explore the area ahead. And Xiongfei's eyes flickered as he looked ahead. Ahead. After the shocking attack, they temporarily calmed down. Lin Xian retreated with a grave expression. There were cracks on his body. They were caused by the impact of the demonic chi. Bus. The divine flame on his body surged and burned the demonic chi, healing his body. The great demon opposite him also frowned. He was also injured. Some parts of his body were charred black and one of his arms was deformed. Ka. His bent arm quickly recovered, but his face was terrifyingly dark. Brat, you've completely angered me. The great demon was very unhappy. He didn't expect the other party to be so strong and be able to fight evenly with him. It seemed that he had to use some methods. Chapter 3264. With a furious roar, the aura on his body erupted once again. Endless demonic aura surged and swept towards Lin Xian. The demonic aura became extremely terrifying, as if it wanted to devour everything. It wanted to devour Lin Xian's flesh and flames. In an instant, Lin Xian was shrouded by the demonic aura. However, he was still fearless. He unleashed the law of fire fragment to the extreme. The flames burned fiercely. 9 suns opened the sky. He would use his peerless fist to destroy everything. Boom boom boom. The endless demonic clouds were pierced through by him, creating many empty areas. The flames on his body ignited these demonic shadows and burned them fiercely. Clouds of black smoke rose into the sky. How can mere demonic aura suppress me? Today I'll completely incinerate you. Lin Xian roared and stood in the void. The flames on his body rotated rapidly between his palms. Then they formed a golden crow. He held it in his hand and blasted it forward. The golden crow was born like a sun. It turned into a shooting star and blasted all the demonic clouds away. This golden crow was too real. It was so lifelike that every single feather could be seen clearly. Its eyes were bright and full of expression, as if it had been bestowed with life. It seems that you have other means besides the Nine Suns' divine body. Seeing this scene, the great demon frowned and then sneered. But it's good. I'll let you see my superpower. Demonic Origin Wheel. He raised one hand and endless demonic aura quickly condensed in his palm, forming a black wheel that spun rapidly. On it there were pitch-black law fragments. Buzz. Then he threw the black wheel out. The void was pierced through. With this attack, the entire world seemed to have exploded. Countless black lights flickered like black crows dancing. It was an extremely strange sight. Half of the sky had turned into black light spots. They flickered as if black stars were breathing. Damn it, what is this thing? The dark red divine dragon frowned. He didn't know what it was, but he knew that the energy it contained was too terrifying. In the distance, and Xiongfei and the others were even more dumbfounded. The black light spots in the sky made them tremble. They estimated that a single light spot could kill a half-saint. Was this the legendary Great Demon? This was too terrifying. The older half-saints were also terrified. The bodies of the young geniuses were trembling. They could not wait to run away. One of the white-haired old men's pupils constricted as he screamed, "Not good. That's a devil origin wheel. I've read about this kind of divine ability in ancient books. It's said to be extremely terrifying. It's specifically used to injure one's soul. As long as one's soul is touched by it, one's soul will be damaged. It was very likely that he would be killed directly. Even if he didn't die, his cultivation would stagnate, unable to advance any further." What? How could it be so terrifying? A single black spot was already so terrifying. At this moment, there were tens of millions of black spots in the sky. It's over. That person is probably in danger. That's right. I wonder who it is that's fighting the Great Demon? Lin Xian had a dignified expression. He naturally felt a sense of crisis. One had to admit that this Great Demon was truly terrifying. He could unleash such a terrifying divine ability just by raising his hand. Umph. He snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, he urged the flaming golden crow to quickly charge over. The two collided, erupting into a dazzling light screen. However, Lin Xian frowned. He could clearly feel that the golden crow he had unleashed was rapidly shrinking. Those black spots pierced through the flames with astonishing power. Enraged, they quickly charged toward him. In an instant, the flaming golden crow was completely penetrated. With a wail, it turned into a monstrous fire. It landed on the ground. The black spots that filled the sky flickered with terrifying light and enveloped Lin Xian. "Kid, let's see how you're going to stop this." The Great Demon sneered. Lin Xian roared angrily. Once again, a terrifying black law fragment flew out from his body. As he waved his arm, it turned into streaks of sword light that surrounded him like a black river. The Law of Annihilation. As soon as this law appeared, it formed a destructive force that collided with the black spots in the sky. The silent collision was like the melting of ice and fire. The frightening black spots on the black sword mark instantly dissipated rapidly, like moths flying into a flame. It was extremely strange. What was going on? Could it be that it was blocked? The half-saints and geniuses in the distance were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. The terrifying demonic origin wheel had been blocked. Who on earth was that person? The dark red divine dragon breathed a sigh of relief and watched with rapt attention again. The Great Demon frowned. He was able to block his demonic origin wheel. That power was the power of decomposition and dissipation. His eyes were somewhat cold as he stared at the black sword light. Suddenly he frowned. "It seems that you have mastered more than one law. But you have only blocked it. Let's see how long you can block it." He snorted coldly. Competing with the power of laws? He would not lose to the other party. In the sky, the two kinds of law forces collided with each other. It was extremely terrifying. Every blow could kill a half-saint. Lin Xian frowned. He waved his hand and a sword chi shot out. It was like a fire dragon that soared into the sky. This slash of the sword cleaved apart the black spots, and the sky was once again illuminated by the light. No way, the demonic origin will had been repelled? The people in the distance were stunned. Previously they were evenly matched. But suddenly, a large part of the demonic origin will had been destroyed. What was going on? The young geniuses were already stunned. And Xiongfei also did not understand. Only a few powerhouses of the older generation were extremely shocked. Sword Chi, that person had struck out Sword Chi and destroyed the demonic origin wheel. What Sword Chi? Could it be that he was a pure sword saint? That was too terrifying, wasn't it? These people exclaimed. He was definitely a super powerhouse. Otherwise, he would not be able to contend with the great demon for so long. The great demon also frowned. Sword Chi, how did the other party's Sword Chi become so terrifying? 9 revolutions of demonic origin wheel. The great demon roared. His black hair fluttered and his hands danced. Suddenly, the huge wheel in the sky began to rotate. Every time it rotated, it would bring with it a strange and overflowing power. After the 9th rotation, the power was extremely strong. Between heaven and earth, demonic chi was vast and mighty as if a demon god had awakened. That powerful aura was like a wave, vast and mighty. Boom. Boom. The power of the 9 revolutions of demonic origin suppressed the sword chi and the law of annihilation once again. It was as if a part of the world was pressing down from the sky, trying to suppress Lin Xian. What a terrifying power. This was simply a brand new world. This great demon was really too terrifying. The powerhouses of the 8 great families were extremely shocked. They estimated that all of them could not block this attack. They would be turned into ashes in an instant. The dark red divine dragon also frowned and became worried. This great demon was too powerful. Boy, hurry up and use all your strength. Boom. Chapter 3265. With a stomp of his foot, the earth beneath him trembled, and fragments of the law of earth quickly condensed on his body. Rise. With a furious roar, the law fragments formed a vast mountain range that stretched for thousands of miles, forming a terrifying land that soared into the sky. The mountain range was incomparably terrifying, as if it was a boundless land. What's this? In the distance, the powerhouses of the 8 great families almost popped their eyes out when they saw this scene. Did he lift up the entire land? They were too terrified. No, it's the law of earth, it's the law of earth. This person also has the law of earth and its power is terrifying. What, the law of earth? The young geniuses were dumbfounded. The flames from before must have been the law of fire. That pitch-black sword light must have been another law. Now that he's using the law of earth, who is he? Isn't he comprehending too many laws? Boom boom boom. Above, the pitch-black sky pressed down, and the boundless mountain range below turned into a land that soared into the sky. The collision of heaven and earth was the ultimate power. Boom boom boom. This scene was like the end of the world. It was like a pair of boundless hands had slapped heaven and earth together. The void within tens of millions of miles was once again shattered into chaos. Everyone could only retreat frantically as everything in front of them was swallowed up. The terrifying apocalyptic scene lasted for a very long time before it slowly dissipated. The people of the 8 great families widened their eyes and looked carefully. The young geniuses' voices trembled. That's impossible, right? Only a saint would be able to survive this kind of world-destroying energy. Otherwise, the 2 of them will die together. Not to mention these young geniuses, even the veteran half-sages probably had the same thought. In fact, they were even prepared to wait for the storm to calm down before they went forward to see who was fighting. However, they were soon stunned. And Xiongfei's pupils constricted as he looked into the distance and exclaimed, "Look, their figures have appeared. They're not dead." Everyone raised their heads and looked up at the starry sky. In the void tens of millions of miles away, 2 figures stood opposite each other. Light erupted from their bodies. Both of them had injuries on their bodies. It was obvious that the shocking attack from before had impacted both of them. However, this impact was not fatal to them. The great demon roared. The demonic chi of the 9 heavens and 10 earths gathered towards him. The cracks on his body healed, and his aura became stronger again. On the other side, Lin Xian also snorted coldly. His 9 young divine body released its divine aura, and the law of wood and longevity secret art circulated rapidly to absorb the energy of heaven and earth. This caused his body to rapidly heal. In an instant it was as good as new. Heavens, are these 2 people immortal? The members of the 8 great clans were all scared silly. Against such a violent attack, they would have been reduced to ashes. No one below the Saint Realm could survive. Fortunately, although these 2 were injured, they recovered in an instant. What kind of physique was this? That wasn't right. It was rumored that the great devil body was incomparably terrifying. It was one of the strongest physiques in the myriad worlds. It was normal for it to be able to recover quickly. However, what kind of physique did the person who fought with the great demon have? Why was he so powerful? He was definitely a peerless expert, and it was very likely that he had one of the strongest physiques in the universe. Otherwise, it would be impossible to achieve such a scene. They were really curious. Who was it? Was he fighting with the great demon? Especially a prodigy like in Xiongfei. Thousands of thoughts ran through his mind. Was it someone on the Abyss leaderboard? If so, it must be someone in the top 5. Who was it? Zhao Wuliang? Long Zhaotian? Or was it the new successor of the great emperor Yan Nantian? Or rather, it was the mysterious Di Ling who ranked first on the leaderboard. He didn't know, but if it was a young prodigy, it was very likely to be one of these people. If it wasn't a young prodigy, then it had to be a super expert. If that was the case, he couldn't be sure who it was at all. In the void, Lin Xin's body recovered, and he looked forward with a cold gaze. That's all you've got? Do you have any more tricks up your sleeve? If not, then you can go to hell in peace. You want me to go to hell? Aren't you a little too arrogant? Don't forget that in the battle between the 9 Yang divine body and the great demon clan won more. Therefore there's no exception today. You will be killed by me. The demonic origin wheel is only one of my most powerful abilities, but it's not my strongest ability. It's not even in the top 3. Now, I'll let you witness my unparalleled great divine ability. The great demon's voice was like a clap of thunder, clearly spreading throughout the world. When the experts of the 8 great clans heard this, they were terrified. What? The demonic origin wheel was only one of his abilities and it wasn't even in the top 3? Heavens, just how terrifying was this great demon? That godlike figure was probably in danger. The attack he used to block the demonic origin wheel was probably his strongest attack. The great demon was extremely terrifying. Once he appeared, he could sweep through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Very few people were his match. Moreover, according to records, the great demon had a mortal enemy, and it seemed that he was the successor of the 9 Yang divine body. The successor of the 9 suns possessed the 9 suns divine body, which was extremely terrifying. Once he matured, he would be one of the super experts in the universe. Moreover, he was very promising on the path to becoming a great emperor. Yet, such an existence was more likely to lose than win in a battle against the great demon clan. One could imagine how terrifying the great demon was. The young geniuses were stunned when they heard this. This legend was like a myth. And Xiongfei's pupils constricted. Wait, mortal enemy. What did you say? The great demon clan and the 9 Yang divine body were mortal enemies? Yes, they were mortal enemies. Every time they appeared, there would be an earth-shattering battle. As soon as an elder finished speaking, his body trembled and his eyes widened. Could it be? He didn't finish speaking, but his eyes were already filled with shock. The other older half-sages also seemed to have thought of something, and their scalps went numb. In the next moment, their eyes were like rainbows as they stared at the figure in the distance who was burning with divine flames. He looked like a god of war. Heavens, terrifying flames, and a super strong physique that could compete with the supreme demonic body. Moreover, the flames were monstrous like the sun. Could it be the 9 Yang divine body? As soon as these words were said, the other experts and geniuses of the 8 great clans were all stunned. Their minds were blank. After a long time they finally reacted and screamed. What, the 9 Yang divine body? Was that person the successor of the 9 Yang divine body? Heavens, they almost scared the hell out of them. The successor of the 9 Yang divine body was fighting the successor of the great demon clan. This was a fated battle. In the ancient legends, the fated battle between the great demon and the 9 Yang divine body was one of the most exciting battles on the ancient path of the stars. Countless people praised that battle, and it evolved into a historical myth that spread throughout the universe. In the past, they could only imagine the battle scene in their minds when they heard the older generation talk about it. But now, they seem to be witnessing this fated battle with their own eyes. Chapter 3266. After coming to this conclusion, the experts of the 8 great families were stunned. This was a battle that was hard to come by in 10,000 years. Among them, a few white-haired elders immediately yelled and took out their formation records. They had to record the battle down. The eyes of the others also lit up. That's right, the fated battle between the great demon and the 9 suns was only a legend. No one had ever seen it with their own eyes. But now they were seeing it with their own eyes. This was a blessing that they had cultivated for several lifetimes. However, they did not plan to be the only ones to see it. They wanted to use an array formation to record this battle. They wanted to spread the news throughout the universe. They could not let such a battle be drowned in this vast forest. They had to let more experts and geniuses see it. Thinking of this, the people of the 8 great families quickly took out array discs and formed an array formation to record the battle ahead. At the same time, they quickly retreated a few million miles to ensure their safety. The array formation flickered, clearly reflecting everything in front of them. In front of them, the void shattered. Lin Xian frowned. Was he going to use a new divine ability? Well, it was time to end it. To be honest, from the moment he became the successor of the 9 sons, he knew that there would be such a battle in his life. Moreover, he knew that his opponent was very powerful and was not weaker than the successor of the 9 sons. In fact, it was even stronger. But so what? Lin Xian had grown to this day. What kind of battle had he not experienced? Although today was a fated battle, he was not afraid at all. On the contrary, he felt his blood boiling. But, with a wave of his hand, the black annihilation laws around him disappeared. The earth laws under his feet also disappeared. On his body, divine fire surged into the sky. The fire laws became more and more tyrannical. Since it was a fated battle and his opponent was the great demon, he would naturally use the 9 sons' inheritance to fight with his opponent. Sure enough, seeing the energy change in Lin Xian's body, the dark red divine dragon sighed. Sigh, this kid is too stubborn. Why is he talking about rules with the great demon? If it were me, I would use all kinds of methods to kill the other party. Of course, he knew that Lin Xian would not do that. Lin Xian wanted to make the 9 sons' bloodline famous. Oh, he doesn't plan to use other divine abilities? You want to use the 9 sons' inheritance to fight? Brat, do you think you can contend against him? The great demon could clearly sense the change in Lin Xian's strength. Immediately, a trace of disdain appeared in his eyes. To be honest, if you didn't have other divine abilities and laws, you would have been killed in the previous battle. With just your 9 sons' inheritance, you can't kill me. It's impossible for you to contend against me. Lin Xian didn't say anything. He wanted to prove everything with his actions. Lin Xian let out a long roar as his body blossomed with terrifying flames. At this moment, Lin Xian looked like a supreme sun war god, his hair wildly dancing in the wind. The 9 heavens and 10 earths trembled along with him. At this moment he did not hold back in the slightest. He unleashed his 9 yang divine body to its limits. The 9 yang divine body was one of the strongest physiques in the universe. His physique was strong and his attacks were strong. Once the 9 yang divine fire was used, it could burn everything. At this moment, Lin Xian was like a god of fire as he charged out forcefully. He stretched out his palm, and it was like a terrifying mountain that slammed down from the sky. In an instant, the void in front of him shattered, and the ground below sank once again. This terrifying power shocked the people of the 8 great families in the distance. Their hands that were controlling the array formation trembled. It was too terrifying. The other party's physique had become stronger again. Could it be that he hadn't used his full strength before? That's right, Lin Xian's previous battle with the great demon was just a probing attack. Now he had already sensed that the great demon was not simple. He wanted to fight with all his strength. At this moment, when he attacked with all his strength, the power was incomparably terrifying. It was even more terrifying than when he used many kinds of laws previously. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. His palm landed and spread out in all directions. From afar, it was as if the entire sky was shattered by his palm. The golden palm was very fast. In an instant it arrived in front of the great demon. Before the palm landed, the terrifying storm had already rushed onto the great demon's body. With a crack, countless cracks appeared on the great demon's body. The demonic energy on his body was suppressed until it dimmed and burned. This scene made the dark red divine dragon suck in a breath of cold air. This was the first time he had seen Lin Xian use the 9 yang divine body to such an extent. In the distance, the people of the 8 great families were even more dumbfounded. Was this the successor of the 9 yang divine body? It was too terrifying. Who could contend with such a physique? The great demon's expression also changed. He let out a long roar, and the demonic energy of the 9 heavens and 10 earths surged towards him. The supreme demon body quickly healed. In the next moment he roared, courting death. Chaotic demon fist. The black fist was like a meteor, rushing into the clouds and colliding with the brilliant palm. An earth-shattering sound rang out. This strike was even more terrifying than the collision of the sky and earth from before. Moreover, what was even more terrifying was that previously, when the 2 of them used great magical powers to create the sky and earth, the collision was only one. But this time, after the two of them exchanged blows, they unleashed a terrifying attack. The great demon's chaotic demon fist was obviously a terrifying fist technique. Coupled with his supreme demon body, it was terrifying to the extreme. On the other side, Lin Xian used the nine-yang divine palm. The monstrous palm kept falling and countless golden rays of light rushed into the clouds. It was an earth-shattering collision. Each blow could easily kill a half-saint. The two of them exchanged more than 100 moves and the sky and earth cracked. Everywhere they passed, everything was turned into ashes. Not good run. The people of the 8 great families were scared out of their wits. They realized that this time the two of them were moving as they fought. Very soon their side was affected. These people fled as if they had gone mad. They brought the formation with them and flew further away. Fortunately, this primeval forest was too vast. Although it had affected tens of millions of miles, it was not a problem for the primeval forest. Unless someone could blow up the entire planet with one blow, the forest would always exist. The people of the 8 great families once again came to a safe place. They controlled the array formation and recorded the scene of the battle in the distance. In the distance, a scream was heard. The great demon's fist was grabbed by a large golden hand and clenched tightly. The fist was directly crushed. Not only that, the great demon's entire arm was also turned into ashes. Damn it, get lost. The great demon roared and swept out his right leg. Like a heavenly blade, he kicked directly at Lin Xian. The power it carried shattered the void within millions of miles. With a boom, the kick landed on Lin Xian's arm, causing Lin Xian to retreat. His arm was also broken. However, both of their physiques were super strong. In an instant they recovered. The next moment they fought again. Chaotic demon fist, demon dance. He roared angrily and used one of his fist techniques to kill. For a moment, countless terrifying fist shadows appeared in all directions. Each of them was like a black sun. They were extremely dazzling. These black fist shadows danced between heaven and earth like demons, and then flew toward Lin Xian together. In an instant, the space where Lin Xian was sealed, forming a closed cage. Chapter 3267. This terrifying scene made the dark red divine dragon nervous. In the distance, the people of the 8 great families exclaimed, "Heavens, what a terrifying divine power!" The successor of the 9 sons was in danger. Yes, how was he going to defend himself? Facing such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian snorted coldly. The light on his body shot into the sky as he quickly circulated all the energy in his body. The flames on his body formed a huge flaming sword in his hand. 9 Sun Sword Technique. At this moment, Lin Xian displayed a sword technique that was unparalleled in the world. Streaks of sword chi bloomed with resplendent light. They were like fire dragons that shot into the sky. The terrifying power could suppress everything. Although the surrounding black fist shadows were terrifying, under the 9 Sun Sword Technique, they were still shattered into pieces. After the fist shadows were shattered, the great demon did not retreat. Instead, he roared again. He formed a seal with his palms and his demonic aura filled the sky. With my demonic aura, tainted with my demonic blood, I will be a demon for all eternity. Heaven and earth will shatter. At this point, he opened his mouth and spat out a drop of bright red blood that surged forward. Instantly, heaven and earth shattered. The black fists turned into demons that bared their fangs and brandished their claws. Then they formed a blurry figure. That blurry figure was too terrifying. It was impossible to tell what it was. One could only tell that it was a Taoist. The figure sat cross-legged in the void and chanted a strange demonic scripture. Boom, boom, boom. Under this strange sound, the 9 heavens and 10 lands quickly split apart. The space around Lin Xian continued to shatter. The flames on his body were suppressed once again, and they even began to tremble. One could imagine that even if the 9 Suns' divine body was powerful, it would not be able to withstand such a strange scene. Lin Xian snorted coldly. "No matter how you change, I will slash you with my sword." His voice rang out like a sword god. Terrifying flaming sword chi surrounded him. The flaming sword in his hand exploded with unparalleled light. When the sword slashed out, it was like an eternal immortal light that could destroy all demons. The demonic aura in the sky trembled violently as if ice and snow had met the sun and quickly melted. Boom, boom. The blurry figure collided with the 9 Sun Sword Technique. It was earth-shattering. But in the end, that blurry figure was still unable to block this terrifying sword chi and vanished into thin air. The terrifying devil chi had completely disappeared. In the distance, the great demon groaned and spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn it! You can actually break my demon summoning scripture? How is that possible? His eyes widened in disbelief. The demonic summoning scripture was so terrifying that he dared to guarantee that no one below the saint plane would be able to resist it. Even if he was facing a saint, he was confident that he could slaughter him. But now, his demonic summoning scripture had been shattered by a single sword strike from his opponent. This scene was too shocking. In the distance, the people of the 8 great clans were also dumbfounded when they saw this scene. The great demon was actually injured. Heavens, could it be that this generation's successor of the 9 sons was so terrifying? He wouldn't defeat the great demon, would he? If that was the case, the entire universe would be shaken. Although you are powerful, you are still a demon. Lin Xian shook his head. You are no match for me. Brat, you're too arrogant. Don't think that you can defeat me just because you've injured me. Let me tell you, you still have a long way to go. With a long roar, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Tens of thousands of miles of the void were all shattered. His black hair danced wildly and a black phantom appeared in his hand. It was like a millstone of destruction that kept spinning. Lin Xian held the 9 sons' divine sword in his hand and faced the terrifying world-destroying demonic disc. This attack was like 2 worlds colliding. The energy that was released was too terrifying. Endless light shot into the clouds, breaking through the sky and flying into the outer realm. Brr! The great demon roared. He was incomparably powerful. After that attack, he charged over again. The world-destroying demonic disc in his hand was even more terrifying. It was as if it could really destroy everything in the world. Lin Xian also roared and soared into the sky. Endless flaming sword energy burned fiercely on his body. The terrifying sword swept across the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The 9 sun sword technique and the world-destroying demonic disc kept colliding. Everything that was affected by the 2 energies was turned into ashes. In the distance, the cultivators of the 8 great clans swallowed their saliva when they saw this scene. It was too terrifying. Was this still a half-saint? Why did it feel like 2 saints were fighting? Kid, you can't do it. My great demon lineage will kill your 9 sons' lineage forever. This great demon was incomparably powerful. The demonic aura on his body was monstrous. It was truly terrifying to the extreme. Kill me? You don't have the ability. Lin Xian snorted coldly and did not say anything. However, the sword energy on his body became even more biting cold. The sword chi struck the world-destroying demonic disc, causing it to tremble non-stop. Cracks even appeared on its surface. One could imagine how terrifying the sword energy was. Boom. In the end, Lin Xian split the world-destroying demonic disc in half. The violent energy turned into a black sea that slammed in all directions. The entire world seemed to have been split apart by the sword. The great demon retreated. A sword mark appeared on his body, almost splitting him in half. Blood flowed out of his body in an instant. I've said it before. You're no match for me. Lin Xian was like a sword god. His voice was incomparably sharp. In the distance, the people of the 8 great clans were shocked. Heavens, the great demon was injured again. Could it be that the 9 sons' lineage was really going to win this time? That's great. On the other side, the dark red divine dragon was also excited. From the looks of it, Lin Xian shouldn't be in any danger, right? Damn it. Demonic aura surged on the great demon's body. Demonic runes flickered and his cracked body recovered. However, the world-destroying millstone in his hand did not appear again. His eyes were incomparably gloomy. You can actually break my world-destroying divine ability. Kid, you've really exceeded my expectations. However, you asked for it. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. With a cold bellow, the black spear from before appeared in his hand. It blossomed in the sky and crushed countless voids. The great demon held it in his hand. But the moment the black spear appeared, it brought with it countless illusions. In the illusions, there was a sea of blood and a mountain of corpses. Countless headless experts were wailing and dancing in the air. That terrifying scene caused one's scalp to go numb with just a glance. What kind of weapon was that? How could there be such a terrifying scene? When the people of the 8 great clans saw this scene, they almost knelt on the ground. It was too terrifying. The moment this aura appeared, it was as if it could destroy them. Especially those young geniuses. When they saw the terrifying illusions, they almost fainted. The older generation people also exclaimed. Could it be that this was the treasure of the great demon clan, the Great Destruction Spear? The Great Destruction Spear was an extremely terrifying existence. It was said that it had been stained with the blood of many saints. Countless half-sages had died in its hands. Chapter 3268. The young geniuses held their breaths as their eyes widened. When had they ever seen such a terrifying weapon? Many people exclaimed. The great demon was already very terrifying. Now that he was holding a peerless weapon, could the successor of the Nine Sons still resist? No one knew. From the looks of it, the successor of the Nine Sons had suppressed the great demon. However, now that the great demon had taken out the great destruction spear, he would definitely be able to suppress his opponent. If the successor of the Nine Sons couldn't take out a powerful weapon, he would definitely be defeated. That's right. The older generation experts were also frowning. An ordinary half-step sage weapon was nothing in front of the great destruction spear. They kept discussing. In the distance, the dark red divine dragon's pupils shrank when he saw this scene. Damn it, it's that weapon. The weapon had shocked him too much. He had thought that it was a sage weapon, but now it seemed that even if it wasn't, it was close. There were terrifying illusions on it that made his hair stand on end. No, that kid's blazing Qilin sword was inferior to the great destruction spear. What is he going to use? The dark red divine dragon frowned. After taking out the great destruction spear, the great demon's aura rose again. He looked coldly in front of him. Kid, you should be proud that you made me use the great destruction spear. Now you can die in peace. He took a step forward and waved the great destruction spear, thrusting it forward. Boom. The sky seemed to be pierced through by something. Countless cracks instantly appeared as a black stream of light pierced towards Lin Xian. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of him. What a terrifying weapon. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He could feel the ferocious aura of the black spear. In the next moment he pulled out a flaming sword and swept it out. The flaming sword was caught by him and instantly bloomed with light. The sword trembled non-stop and turned into a blazing Qilin, rushing in all directions. This was the blazing Qilin sword that he had obtained from the fire spirit cave. Boom. The sword swept out and slashed at the black light in front of him. In the next moment, an earth-shattering sound rang out as an intense collision erupted. The fire Qilin transformed into a Qilin, roaring in all directions. However, the great annihilation spear was too terrifying. With one strike, the fire Qilin was pierced through. With a clang, the blazing Qilin sword was split into two. What was it that could shatter a half-saint tool? Lin Xian was extremely shocked. In the next moment he was once again sent flying by this force. After flying for over 1,000,000 miles, Lin Xian crashed into the boundless void before finally landing on the ground. On his shoulder there was a terrifying bloody hole. Around it were countless cracks that covered his entire body. This blow almost tore him into pieces. The people of the 8 great families sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Even the 9 Yang divine body was shattered. This was simply too terrifying. The 9 Yang divine body was so powerful that it could suppress the supreme devil body of the great devil. They even suspected that his physique was comparable to a saint's physique. However, even with such a strong physique, it was unable to withstand this attack. One could only imagine how terrifying the might of the attack was. If it were any other half-saint, their body and soul would have been destroyed long ago. Rumor had it that the great annihilation spear had been stained with the blood of more than one saint. It seemed that this legend was very likely true. Damn it, is that kid all right? The dark red dragon also became nervous. He could not help but want to save him. However, in the end he did not make a move. He knew that this was a battle of fate. Only Lin Xian could face it alone. Boom. Under the ground 1,000,000 miles away, countless rocks cracked open. A figure stood out. It was Lin Xian. At this moment Lin Xian's body was covered in cracks. He looked like a broken porcelain. It was an exceptionally shocking sight. What a terrifying attack. He was also extremely shocked. At this moment the great devil quickly flew over and rushed near him again, looking down at him from above. You're not dead yet? It seems that your physique is beyond imagination. But so what? Can't you block my second attack? The great annihilation spear in his hand shone with a demonic light again. The surrounding sea of blood and mountains of corpses became more solid as if they were really going to appear in the world. Lin Xian's 9 Yang divine body vibrated and released millions of rays of light, quickly repairing the cracks. At the same time, a piercing cold light burst out from his eyes. He looked at the long sword in his hand. The original blazing Qilin sword was now broken. This made him sigh. The blazing Qilin sword could be said to be a top half-saint weapon. It was extremely sharp. However, it was still inferior to the great annihilation spear. Shaking his head, Lin Xian put away the blazing Qilin sword. It seemed that he could only use that one. As he spoke, he quickly waved his hand. A dragon-shaped sword shadow appeared in his hand. As soon as the dragon-shaped sword shadow appeared, the 9 heavens and 10 lands quickly collapsed. Countless sword chi rushed into the sky like lightning. Crack, 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 crack. Various visions of heaven and earth danced wildly. Thousands of miles away, the powerhouses of the 8 great families trembled. A trace of fear appeared in their eyes. It was as if a sword light had streaked across their heads. In the next moment, they felt the sabers and swords in their hands tremble non-stop. What was going on? They held their weapons tightly. Their eyes were filled with deep shock. In the next moment they looked into the distance. When they saw the green dragon-shaped sword shadow floating in the void, they were all stunned. Heavens, that was a long sword. When the long sword appeared, it caused a vision of heaven and earth and shattered the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Just the aura that appeared was so terrifying. They were really stunned. The power displayed by the dragon-shaped sword was not any weaker than the Great Annihilation Spear. The successor of the 9 Yang divine body actually had such a terrifying weapon. It seemed that the outcome of this battle was uncertain again. These people were extremely shocked. Previously, they had thought that the successor of the 9 Yang divine body was going to lose. Now it seemed that the outcome was still unknown. It was no wonder that the battle between the 9 Yang divine body and the great demon was called one of the most dazzling battles on the ancient path of the stars. Now it seemed that he lived up to his reputation. Although the two of them were only half-sages, the divine powers and power they displayed had already surpassed that of other half-sages. They were not inferior even to a true sage. Even now, the two of them gave off the feeling that they were two sages fighting. The surrounding young elites were stunned. What? No way. They had the strength to kill a sage? A sage was an existence that transcended heaven and earth. No matter how powerful the two of them were, how could they kill such an existence? They really did not dare to believe it. However, the experts of the older generation sighed. A sage was indeed an existence that transcended heaven and earth. However, the weapons in the hands of the two of them were too terrifying. The Great Annihilation Spear had been stained with the blood of a sage more than once. Although they did not know what kind of weapon the other party's dragon-shaped sword shadow was, in terms of power and the vision of heaven and earth, it was definitely not weaker than the Great Annihilation Spear. Chapter 3269. Hearing that, the Sky Prides were shocked. And Xiongfei began to tremble violently. He was ranked purple on the Abyss leaderboard and could be said to be a top and dazzling Sky Pride. However, compared to a sage he was insignificant. But now, there were two people who were as young as them who had the power to kill a sage. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The great demon's face also darkened, and there was a hint of seriousness in his eyes. To be honest, in his opinion, the other party was definitely dead because no matter how strong the other party was, he couldn't block his spear of destruction. But now, the other party took out a long sword that was not inferior to the spear of destruction? Damn it, what was that? The great demon's face was gloomy, and his eyes were like a lamp as he stared at the dragon-shaped sword shadow in front of him. In the next moment, his eyelids twitched. Could it be that thing? But it shouldn't be. How did he get that thing? He was extremely shocked. On the opposite side, Lin Xian held the dragon-shaped sword shadow, and in the next moment, the sword shadow erupted with endless power. Lin Xian's eyes flickered, and the dragon-shaped sword shadow became more and more solid as if it was a real sword. This time, Lin Xian used the great dragon sword soul to use it as a weapon. To be honest, if the other party didn't take out the spear of destruction, he wouldn't have taken out the dragon-shaped sword shadow. Do you think you're the only one who has a weapon? After Lin Xian held the dragon-shaped sword shadow, he snorted coldly. The dragon-shaped sword shadow in his hand bloomed with incomparable light, as if it wasn't a long sword, but a real dragon. As Lin Xian waved his arm, the dragon-shaped sword shadow roared and slashed out. This slash caused the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. Sword light was everywhere in the sky and on the ground, devouring everything. Even the demonic chi was penetrated. Boom. On the other side, the spear of destruction also attacked crazily. The two collided. This time, the power was even more terrifying. It had already spread to a radius of 30 million miles, and it was still spreading. Retreat, retreat 50 million miles away. The people of the 8 great families roared crazily. The dark red divine dragon also pierced through the void and retreated quickly. Within 50 million miles, the scene was simply too horrifying. Everything was reduced to ashes. This was practically a fight between two saints. Boom. After that strike, the great demon stood in the void. He held the great destruction spear in his hand and pierced through the heavens and earth. He was like a demon god. Mysterious demonic runes flickered on his body as he exuded a terrifying aura. He was like a true peerless demon king. Light of destruction. With a loud shout, the great destruction spear in his hand danced wildly. A terrifying black light covered the sky and surged forward. The great demon's black hair danced in the wind as he devoured the demonic energy of heaven and earth. He unleashed a supreme technique wanting to kill Lin Xian. Lin Xian was swallowed up by the black light. His surroundings were pitch black, and the sword chi on his body was suppressed and dimmed. As for him, he snorted coldly. His 9-yang divine body blossomed with incomparable light. The dragon-shaped sword in his hand also stabbed out, colliding with the great wave annihilation spear. The heavens and earth collapsed, the sword chi shattered, and the demonic energy dispersed. Lin Xian opened his mouth and sucked all the shattered demonic energy into his body as if he was drinking water. Boom, boom, boom. All the demonic energy in his body let out earth-shattering sounds. However, it was soon suppressed by Lin Xian. It was used to temper his body. Seeing this scene, the great demon snorted coldly, and the great destruction spear in his hand moved again. The underworld reappeared. Following that cold voice, the second strike was unleashed. Around the great destruction spear, countless black lights accompanied the sea of blood and the mountains of corpses, forming a world. It was a pitch-black land with countless corpses buried on it. They were all the corpses of peerless powerhouses. After death, they still emitted a terrifying aura and terrifying light. There were also blood of various colors flowing on it. It was as if hell had appeared in the void. In an instant it enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian appeared on the black land, surrounded by a terrifying scene. It emitted a terrifying aura that wanted to refine him. In the distance, the people of the 8 great families screamed when they saw this scene. The underworld. Heavens, this was the legendary land of death in the underworld. It could definitely refine everything and take away one's life force. Even a sage would be turned into ashes if he stayed there for a long time. What? So powerful? The surrounding young geniuses were shocked. Was this the legendary underworld? It could take away one's life force and even a sage couldn't escape. At this moment, it was used to deal with the successor of the 9 sons. Could the other party block it? Lin Xian was in the underworld. He felt a cold aura that wanted to devour his life force and blood. He snorted coldly and stomped his foot. The underworld shook continuously, but it didn't shatter. Useless kid, my underworld is not an ordinary illusion. You can't break it. The great demon's voice was cold and there was a cold smile in his eyes. Can't break it? Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the sky. Flames burned in his eyes and his body shone, blocking the surrounding black aura. In the next moment he looked around at the terrifying underworld and said coldly, "Today I'll break it for you." 9 suns split the heavens. Lin Xian let out a long howl as he gripped the dragon-shaped sword with both hands. The aura from his body continued to burst forth like a sun, emitting a dazzling light. 9 suns split the heavens, the ultimate move of the 9 sun sword technique. When the sword slashed down, it seemed to split the heavens and earth. Boom boom boom. The underworld under his feet trembled violently. The terrifying corpses and blood sea around him also collapsed. Soon, a crack appeared in the world and it became bigger and bigger. Finally, with a crack it split into 2. It shattered. The other party really split the underworld. This scene made the people of the 8 great families unable to believe it. The dark red dragon heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Xian flew out of the crack and quickly rose into the air. The dragon-shaped sword in his hand slashed down again. It was another 9 suns split the heavens. This time he slashed at the great demon. The great demon's eyes were round as he roared. Endless demonic aura surged from his body. He didn't believe that the other party could break his underworld so easily. However, at this moment he didn't have the time to think. The other party was charging at him, which made him extremely angry. Boom. The great spear of destruction in his hand kept spinning. The demonic runes on his hand illuminated the world. The demon god's fury. Facing the 9 suns split the heavens, the great demon once again used his ultimate ability. At this moment, the great demon's body flickered. An illusory demonic figure in armor rose from his body. Together with the great spear of destruction, they surged forward. The black figure was like a peerless demon god that had awakened from the ancient times. The moment he appeared, he covered the endless void. With a roar, the galaxy shattered and the sun and moon fell. This scene was really terrifying to the extreme. Chapter 3270. Amidst the violent roar, the phantom of the demon god quickly split apart and finally disappeared between heaven and earth. Not only that, the great demon also spat out a mouthful of blood. A terrifying crack appeared on his body, almost splitting him into two halves. On the other side, the fiery sword chi that filled the sky also disappeared. Lin Xian held the great dragon sword soul once again and stood in the void. In the distance, the people of the 8 great families were stunned when they saw this scene. Heavens, what kind of weapon is that? It can actually suppress the great destruction spear. Crack crack. A crisp sound rang out. Numerous cracks appeared on the great demon's body, covering his entire body. Then, with a bang, he broke into pieces. Broken. The great demon's body was broken into pieces. The experts of the 8 great families couldn't believe it. The great demon screamed like a madman. His broken body quickly healed, and his eyes burst out with a piercing light. Terrifying demonic chi surged, and the demon god's shadow appeared behind him once again, revolving non-stop. At this moment, the world was constantly shattering. Buzz. The great demon and the demon god's shadow behind him quickly merged. His body burst out with a black light, and the great destruction spear in his hand was extremely sharp. At this moment, the 9 heavens and 10 lands were shaking, and the entire world seemed to be about to shatter. The great demon roared as if a real demon god had awakened. Kid, you've angered me. I want you dead. Lin Xian snorted. The dragon-shaped sword in his hand burst out, and endless sword chi protected him. The 9 young divine bodies shone brightly, and the mysterious runes on it flickered with a terrifying power that could shatter everything. Kill. The 2 of them roared and charged forward again. The peerless divine weapons in their hands clashed non-stop, and every strike was earth-shattering. It was a peerless battle. The 2 of them fought with all their might, and all kinds of terrifying divine abilities and laws were waved without holding back. You can't defeat me. The great demon's voice was exceptionally terrifying. Lin Xian snorted. There was no point in talking. Let's fight. The sword chi in his hand became more and more piercing. The terrifying dragon-shaped sword shadow hit the great destruction spear, causing it to tremble non-stop. The great demon's arm also trembled. Damn it. With a furious roar, an incomparable light erupted from his eyes. His eyes seemed to have transformed into 2 black vortexes that could devour everything. As far as the eye could see, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Countless large cracks appeared in the sky. In the distance, the experts of the 8 great clans felt their hearts beating wildly. Many of them vomited mouthfuls of blood and almost fainted. It was too terrifying. What kind of gaze was that? With a single glance, it could pierce through tens of millions of li, shattering mountains and rivers. Even though they were so far away, they still felt their souls tremble. What kind of person was he? A casual glance was enough to kill a half-saint. The aura of the great devil rose once more. It was as if he had fused with the great destruction spear in his hand. Every strike of his seemed capable of piercing through everything. These 2 gazes swept out, causing cracks to appear on Lin Xian's body. However, Lin Xian let out a furious roar as his body rapidly healed. The great dragon sword soul in his hand pierced through the heavens and earth. Kill. With a furious roar, the sword chi on Lin Xian's body merged. He was like a supreme god of war, splitting the heavens and earth. Carrying flames that filled the sky, he rolled over and collided with the great destruction spear. In the next moment, endless light erupted. Nothing could be seen in front of him. However, soon screams were heard. Even the heavens and earth were split in half. The boundless demonic chi and sword chi were also separated. Everyone saw an unforgettable scene. The great devil was split in half. Impossible. You can actually suppress my great destruction spear. What exactly are you? Even an ordinary sacred artifact can't suppress the great destruction spear. The great devil's broken body spat out a few words with difficulty. He was too shocked. Was the great destruction spear very powerful? Lin Xian sneered, and the sword light in his hand became even colder. Damn it. Could it really be that thing? The great devil's body trembled. Something terrible came to his mind. The great dragon sword. You actually have the great dragon sword. To be honest, the dragon-shaped sword shadow made his scalp tingle. He could only search his memory for the great dragon sword. It seems that you're not too stupid to be able to recognize it. Lin Xian sneered. If you have any last words, leave them. His sword chi surged out again. Get lost. The great devil roared crazily and waved the great destruction spear to block. However, he was still sent flying. There were even more cracks on his body. His eyes were filled with endless anger. Damn it, Yin Nantian dared to lie to me. He was furious. To be honest, he thought that the other party was only the successor of the Nine Sons. He could definitely kill the other party with the Great Destruction Spear, but he didn't expect the other party to have the Great Dragon Sword. This was an offensive saint art of the world. The successor of the Nine Sons and the Great Dragon Sword could definitely block his Great Destruction Spear. He could even suppress it. However, he didn't know any of this. He didn't know that Lin Xian had the Great Dragon Sword. Otherwise he wouldn't be in such a hurry. He would at least wait until he broke through to become a sage before killing the other party. Damn it, Yan Nantian was too despicable. He must have known about it, but he didn't tell him. His sinister intentions could be imagined. The great devil was furious. On the other side, Lin Xian also frowned. What was going on? Why was the other party shouting Yan Nantian's name? Could it be that this matter had something to do with Yan Nantian? His face darkened when he thought of that. Could it be that Yan Nantian leaked his information and told the Great Devil? That was why the Great Devil was here to have a fated battle with him? A cold light appeared in his eyes when he thought of that. Yan Nantian deserved to die. After he dealt with the Great Devil, he definitely wouldn't let him off. Kit, you actually have the Great Dragon Sword. That's unbelievable. Let's end this battle here. I'll take your life when I break through to the Sage Realm. The Great Devil stood in the void with a cold expression and wanted to leave. Lin Xian sneered. Aren't you too naive? This is a fated battle. Do you think I'll let you leave? He slashed the mountains and rivers with his sword and blocked the other party's path. You dare to stop me? The Great Devil suddenly turned his head. His eyes turned into two black vortexes that could melt everything in the world. Boom, boom, boom. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. A million-mile black hole appeared in the void. However, that energy was destroyed by Lin Xian's sword. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous. So what if I stop you? I'm still going to kill you today. Sword chi erupted from his body and swept through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The endless sword chi formed a world of the sword path that descended from the sky. Scram! The Great Devil roared. A demonic disc appeared in his left hand and he directly rushed forward, destroying all the sword chi. At the same time, he soared into the sky and pierced through the void with the Great Destruction Spear. It seemed that he wanted to leave. Chapter 3271. This was a fated battle and it was also a battle of life and death. How could he let his opponent leave? If his opponent left, then he would always be a hidden danger. This was because once his opponent's strength increased, he would come to kill him. He would not leave such trouble for himself. Therefore, this time he would directly finish off his opponent to prevent future troubles. This scene happened too suddenly because no one expected the great demon to escape. One had to know that this was a fated battle. They would definitely fight to the death. Why would his opponent suddenly escape? The dark red divine dragon was also stunned. In the next moment, he swung his dragon tail and instantly chased after the great demon with the snow-white monkey. 50 million miles away, the people of the 8 great families were also stunned. Heavens, what did they see? The great demon had escaped, and the successor of the 9 sons had actually chased after him. The experts of the older generation were drooling. Was the fated battle going to end just like that? From the looks of it, the successor of the 9 sons should have the upper hand. This time, the successor of the 9 sons was really too powerful. The young warriors also cried out in alarm. However, a few old elders shook their heads. It was impossible. From the looks of it, the successor of the 9 sons did not seem to want it to end so quickly. This is a huge pursuit. Let's hurry up and take a look. They also rose into the air and flew into the distance. Of course, they did not dare to fly too close. Soon they laughed bitterly because they realized that they were overthinking. Even if they flew at full speed, they would not be able to catch up with their opponent. They could only follow Gua based on the world-shaking energy they'd encountered along the way. In the void, the great demon transformed into a demonic shadow and flew quickly, bringing with him endless demonic clouds. His speed was extremely fast. Ordinary half-saints could not catch up to him at all. However, he was confident that no half-saint could catch up to him. He even had a way to escape from a saint. But soon, the great demon frowned and his expression became incomparably cold. That was because he realized that his opponent's aura was behind him. Damn it, how is this possible? He can actually catch up to me. Impossible. The great demon hurriedly turned his head and looked over. Indeed, he saw that his opponent was flying rapidly tens of millions of miles away. A sharp sword light sliced through everything and was quickly chasing after him. Damn it, how can he be so fast? The great demon turned his head and accelerated again. Kit, are you going to chase after him? The dark red divine dragon followed behind as well. Lin Xian said, "That's right, I'll go after him. Ruffian dragon, you follow behind them. Don't show your face just in case." The dark red dragon nodded and followed from a distance. In front, Great Demon had already flown around the elven planet and returned to the elven forest. However, he didn't expect that the other party was still following him. Damn it! With a furious roar, a cold glint appeared in his eyes. In the next moment, the demonic chi on his back circulated rapidly, forming a pair of black wings. The black wings flapped gently and his speed exploded. The void shattered as he flew up into the sky. "Do you want to leave?" Lin Xian shouted coldly. Stepping on a dragon shadow, his body was covered in sword light. Like a giant sword that reached the heavens, he also charged forward. But soon Lin Xian froze and came to a stop, floating in the void. Disappeared, the other party's traces had actually disappeared. This greatly surprised him. The dark red dragon following behind him was also shocked. Not good, he probably used some secret technique to teleport away, right? Hearing this, Lin Xian's face turned terrifyingly gloomy. At the same time, in the sky above the elven planet, a figure appeared in the void of the universe. It was the Great Demon. At this moment, the Great Demon's expression was incomparably cold. He turned his head to look at the world of stars below as a cold light appeared in his eyes. This time he was too careless. He didn't expect the other party to have the Great Dragon Sword. This way he wouldn't be able to defeat the other party at all. But it was impossible for the other party to kill him. As a great demon, he had many divine abilities and secret techniques. What he was using now was a super powerful escape technique. Once he used this secret technique, he guaranteed that even saints wouldn't be able to catch up to him. Indeed, in the past, in ancient times, there was a half-step great demon in their race who relied on a secret technique to escape the pursuit of two saints. It should be easy to shake off the other party now. Damn brat, just you wait. When I break through to the saint realm, I will tear you into pieces. With that said, the great demon turned around and wanted to leave. But in the next moment, his body stiffened because he saw a beam of light shooting into the clouds from the huge world of stars below. In an instant, it pierced through countless astral winds and flew towards the outer realm. Not good, it's that brat. This was the aura of the 9 suns. He had just exchanged blows with the other party and could naturally recognize his aura. In the next moment, his expression changed drastically. He turned around and fled. Buzz. The black wings on the great demon's back spread open as he used his secret technique again and fled into the distance. He didn't even use his spirit boat and relied on the strength of his physical body to fly in the void of the universe. After using it 3 times, the great demon completely left the planet. He arrived in the depths of the universe. At the same time, above the planet, a golden figure tore through the void and appeared. It was Lin Xian. At this moment, Lin Xian frowned. He actually left. He looked around. The surroundings were cold and pitch-black universe. Occasionally, streams of light would flash by, but there was no sign of the great demon. At the same time, a red figure appeared below. It was the dark red divine dragon. He came to Lin Xian's side and also frowned. Damn it, that guy ran away. Let's hurry up and chase after him on the spirit boat. At this point, the dark red divine dragon's blood surged. They weren't saints yet, so it was too dangerous for them to walk in the void of the universe. Hence, they wanted to take the spirit boat. However, Lin Xian shook his head. The golden light in his eyes flickered as his heavenly secret divine eye scanned the surroundings. Soon he frowned. Disappeared? How was that possible? It seemed that the other party had used that kind of secret technique. Since the other party didn't take the spirit boat, he wouldn't do it either. Aya, do you really want to suppress the other party in all aspects? The dark red divine dragon sighed. It's up to you then. I'll take the spirit boat and follow you. The dark red divine dragon brought the snow-white monkey into the spirit boat. Lin Xian used his heavenly secret divine eye and began to capture the aura left behind by the great demon. He formed a seal with his palms and above his head, a pair of golden eyes appeared in the void of the universe, looking down at the surroundings. The secret technique used by the great demon was very magical and basically didn't leave behind any aura. Not to mention a half-saint, even a saint wouldn't be able to find the great demon as long as they lost track of it. This was the great demon's ability to escape. But he didn't expect that Lin Xian wasn't an ordinary half-saint. Lin Xian had a powerful eye technique and was a prodigy. At this moment, under the full power of his heavenly secret divine eye, he actually captured a trace of the great demon's aura. With this aura, Lin Xian could continue to chase after him. Found it? Chapter 3272. After Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon left, another group of people rushed up from the star realm below. These people were from the 8 realms. They were not floating in the void but sitting in the spirit boat. They were extremely shocked. Through the array formation of the spirit boat, they looked in all directions. Nothing? They looked at the vast universe around them and were stunned. No, they're too fast. We can't catch up with them at all. An old man shook his head. The other young geniuses were unwilling to give up. They wanted to see the final result. Therefore, many geniuses hurriedly said, "Let's quickly look around and see if there are any traces left behind. Let's follow them." These people hurriedly probed with their souls and searched in all directions. Some even used array formations. However, their expressions soon became very ugly. They did not find any traces. These 2 people were really too powerful. Even when chasing and escaping, they didn't leave behind any information or clues. It was really hard to believe. "Forget it, I don't think we can find anything. Why don't we just find a direction to search? As for whether we can find them or not, it will depend on our luck." Moreover, there should be many people who saw this chase. When the time comes, we just need to search according to the information. These people also left. They really could not find them, let alone keep up with their speed. In fact, if it were other half-saints, they would not be able to find them either. Only people like Lin Xian who had the heavenly secret divine eyes could find them. The great demon hid his aura and fled quickly. Lin Xian chased him all the way and left some terrifying aura behind. However, the dark red divine dragon was following behind him. The dark red divine dragon was behind him, specially dealing with Lin Xian's aura and erasing all of it. After all, Lin Xian had told the dark red divine dragon to be careful and take care of him from behind. He suspected that Yin Nantian might be hiding nearby. After all, Yin Nantian was the one who gave him the information. But in the cold universe, a black stream of light shuttled quickly. If one took a closer look, they would be shocked to see that this figure did not take a spirit boat. Instead, he flew with his physical body, bringing with him powerful air waves and monstrous demonic chi. This person was the great demon. He had been flying for 3 days, and for the time being, he didn't feel any killing aura behind him, which made him feel relieved. However, he soon frowned. He had been injured in the previous battle. Moreover, he had exhausted a large amount of energy during this escape, so he didn't have much energy left. He had to rest quickly and replenish his energy. The great demon looked into the distance. Soon he discovered a star. "Let's go to this star." With a loud boom, he flew rapidly towards the star realm below. Soon he tore through the gale and fell down. The great demon's body was wrapped in demonic chi. The demonic chi and astral winds on his body clashed continuously, causing dazzling sparks to erupt. From afar, it looked like a meteor had descended from the sky, bringing with it a torrential blaze. With a loud boom, the great demon landed on the ground and pierced through the ground. Countless cracks spread out for millions of miles. This scene immediately caused many cultivators in this world to exclaim in surprise. Everyone looked up. They saw light flying in the sky. It was exceptionally dazzling and it illuminated the entire area. The ground in the distance also began to rumble. What was that? Could it be that a rare treasure of heaven and earth had appeared? It was very likely. This was a phenomenon of heaven and earth. Only an extremely precious treasure could cause such a phenomenon of heaven and earth. Let's go and take a look. Many people soared into the sky, and there was no lack of top geniuses and experts among them. After the great demon landed on the ground, a terrifying deep pit was formed. He didn't leave. Instead, he sat cross-legged in the deep pit and began to recover. He formed seals with his palms and absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. At the same time, he took out a few black bottles from his storage ring. He poured out some spiritual liquid of heaven and earth and swallowed them. Damn it, how dare this guy make me so miserable? I won't let you off. As the great demon recovered, his face was terrifyingly dark. This time he had indeed done it. Previously, he had traveled thousands of miles and crossed many worlds to hunt down the other party. However, he didn't expect that the situation would take a shocking turn. The one being hunted was actually him. Fortunately, he had a secret technique which allowed him to escape. The great demon's expression was cold as he tried his best to recover. At the same time, the surrounding cultivators all rushed over. When they saw the terrifying cracks on the ground and the terrifying aura ahead, they all swallowed their saliva. Is it really a treasure? Why do I feel like a terrifying monster has been revived? Could it be a peerless monster? I don't know. Let's go and take a look. Even if it's a peerless monster, it's not bad either. Its blood, heart, monster core and claws are all treasures. Many people's eyes lit up as if they were hunters who had seen their prey. These people walked forward quickly. The further they walked, the more cracks there were. They were densely packed and extremely terrifying. There was also a black light in front of them that surrounded them. They couldn't see clearly at all. What is it? However, they couldn't walk any further. Many people trembled. Some even vomited blood and flew backward. No, it's too terrifying. The aura ahead is too terrifying. Some people gave up. There were also some top geniuses and powerful experts who braced themselves and flew forward. They used their Dharma treasures, divine abilities, and secret techniques to explore with all their might. After walking for a while, they finally came to the front under immense pressure. However, when they saw the situation in the deep pit, they were all stunned. It's a person. It's actually a person. It was a terrifying figure covered in pitch-black flickering demonic runes. That person formed seals with both hands, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth gathered crazily into his body as if he was cultivating. Who is this person? Which sect is he from? They were extremely surprised. However, at this moment, their hearts trembled because they saw that the pitch-black figure sitting in front of them opened his eyes. His eyes were incomparably black, like two black vortexes that were about to suck in their souls. Many people were shocked and subconsciously retreated. In the next moment, they screamed. They realized that their souls were really sucked out by the black vortex-like eyes. But their souls rose into the air and flew forward involuntarily. No. Damn it. They screamed crazily, but soon they flew in front of the other party uncontrollably. In the next moment, the other party opened his mouth and swallowed their souls. How dare you spy on me? You're courting death. The great demon stood up and sneered. He stretched out his soul and found that other than these people, there were many people rushing over. Chapter 3273. Do you really think I'm a heaven and earth treasure? He sneered and instantly arrived in front of the corpses. With a wave of his hand, he directly drew out the blood of those people, turned it into pure energy and swallowed it. Demonic runes flickered on his body as he quickly absorbed the energy. If others saw this scene, they would definitely be scared silly. This method of absorbing energy was too terrifying. If others did this, they would probably explode and die in the end. But the great demon was different. He was a demon and cultivated demonic techniques. This kind of crazy absorption was normal for him. The people outside were puzzled. What was going on? Why were there screams inside? Could it be that there was some danger? Just as they were puzzled, they felt the black light around them disappear. Immediately after, a figure walked out. This person was as black as ink and had a tall figure. His body was surrounded by terrifying demonic chi, like a demon god. Who was this person? They looked ahead and saw a figure walking out of the deep pit. They were extremely shocked. Feeling the aura on the other party's body, their expressions became extremely ugly. This place was too evil. It wasn't good to stay for long. Leave quickly. Many people's thoughts raced, wanting to retreat. Some people even took action. In an instant, they retreated tens of thousands of miles. Want to leave? Stay here for me. Demon swallows the world. The great demon sneered. The demonic chi on his body erupted, instantly enveloping a radius of millions of miles. These people couldn't escape at all. Not good. They roared crazily, wanting to escape. But soon they were swallowed by the demonic chi. In the next moment, not even their bones were left. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. 5 million miles away, there were still many warriors rushing over. But in the next moment, they stopped in their tracks because they discovered that the space in front of them had completely turned black. Clouds billowed and killing intent surged. It was a scene of destruction. And inside, countless screams came out. There were even law fragments waving, but in an instant, they disappeared into thin air. No way even a half-sage was killed. The scalps of these people tingled as they retreated crazily. The black space in front had already become a forbidden land of death. No one dared to go. Just like that, a day passed. In front, it was still pitch black. Everyone hid in the distance in shock and curiosity. They watched. But no one dared to take a step forward. Some people really didn't know. They thought that a demon god had descended. They all began to kowtow to the front. Within the boundless demonic chi, the great demon sat cross-legged. He glanced at the people around him and snorted coldly in disdain. These people were not worth his time. Right now, he needed to absorb the energy as quickly as possible so that he could continue his journey. However, at this moment, the great demon frowned. That was because he could feel a golden sword light shining in the sky. Then it was as if the entire world was being split apart. It formed a wave of air that spread to both sides. This scene was simply too astonishing. It was as if a pillar of flame had descended from the sky. Heavens, what happened this time? The warriors of Xiaofang's world raised their heads to look at the sky. They were all stunned. A miracle. Did another treasure appear? Oh no, it's that guy. Damn it, how did he get here so quickly? The great demon's expression changed. His body swayed and the black wings on his back flapped. He immediately used a secret technique to escape from this world. As soon as he left, the golden light came down and split the black space in half. In the next moment, a tall man surrounded by flames appeared in the void like a god of war. His feet moved through the 8 wastelands and his eyes carried cyan symbols. He looked down and frowned. He's gone. That guy is quite smart. The person who came was none other than Lin Xian. He snorted coldly and looked around him. When the warriors of the surrounding world saw a person rushing down from the sky, they were so frightened that they knelt down. A god! They kept exclaiming. Lin Xian ignored them. Instead, he sent a voice transmission to Ruffian Dragon. Ruffian Dragon, that guy just left this world. Stay outside and blast him down. In the spirit boat, the dark red dragon was also stunned when he heard that. However, in the next moment he rushed out. He did not attack. Instead, he took out 8 sets of formations. Those formations were the ones that he usually refined. They were 8 peerless killing formations. At this moment he activated them. They absorbed the power of the sun and moon and circulated it crazily. As soon as the 8 killing formations appeared, they covered the entire world. Immediately, a figure was forced out. How dare you stop me? The great demon roared crazily. The dark red dragon sneered. Get lost. Boom. The sound of a violent collision rang out and endless light erupted. Fortunately, they had already arrived in the outer realm. The pitch-black universe was illuminated, and cracks appeared on the 8 formations. They were about to shatter. Damn it, why is this guy so powerful? The dark red dragon frowned. The 8 peerless killing formations can't even withstand a single attack from the other party? However, at this moment, he heaved a sigh of relief. That was because he saw that Lin Xian had made his move. Below, while Lin Xian was transmitting his voice, he made his move. He stretched out a large golden hand and grabbed upward. In an instant, it passed through the starry sky and arrived in the outer realm. The large golden hand directly enveloped the great demon. The great demon could have escaped, but because of the 8 killing formations he was stopped for a while. However, in that instant Lin Xian seized the opportunity. In an instant, the golden hand enveloped him. Then, the golden hand grabbed him and dragged him down. With a boom, the golden hand dragged the great demon and landed on the ground. Boom. The ground shattered again and millions of miles of cracks spread out. Those people in the distance were scared out of their wits. They were sent flying by a terrifying force. They scrambled back, their faces full of horror. This was too terrifying. Just who was this person? A casual strike, but the aftermath of that energy was something they could not withstand. Boom. 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 In front, black lightning came, directly piercing through the golden light palm. The great demon soared into the sky. He used the great destruction spear to pierce through Lin Xian's palm and flew into the distance again. Wanna leave? Can you leave? Lin Xian snorted coldly and quickly soared into the sky. The great demon's body emitted an incomparable light. Terrifying fragments of fire laws danced in the air, forming a flame giant that roared at the sky. He wanted to completely suppress the great demon. Chaotic demon fist. The great demon did not turn around. He threw out countless fist shadows with a backhand, piercing through the void and charging downward. Buzz. Lin Xian split these black fist shadows with a sword. At the same time he frowned. This great demon's strength had actually recovered again. It was truly shocking. He held the dragon-shaped sword shadow, and terrifying sword energy swept out in all directions. The great demon's pupils constricted, and all the hair on his body stood on end. He could not block the great dragon sword, so he quickly fled. However, he was still hit by this sword energy and flew into the distance, spitting out a mouthful of blood again. 10,000 demon blood sacrifice. The great demon quickly formed hand seals. Demonic energy overflowed into the sky, and these martial artists within 10 million miles suddenly split open, turning into a blood mist. Chapter 3274. They screamed crazily, wanting to beg for mercy. But how could the great demon be merciful? He was using an extremely terrifying and cruel divine power. This divine power needed to refine the cultivators alive and sacrifice them to the demon god. Within 10 million miles, those cultivators who were watching from afar and had not run away all had their bodies split apart. Following the guidance of the black chi, they formed black runes. Soon it enveloped Lin Xian. This array formation was extremely terrifying. It caused ghostly wails and wolf howls. It carried an extremely strong resentment as if it wanted to tear Lin Xian into pieces. Lin Xian could clearly feel that the blood in his body seemed to be ignited and burning. What a terrifying array formation. He snorted coldly and stomped his foot. A powerful aura swept in all directions. He punched out and directly shattered the array formation. However, the array formation quickly healed on its own and charged towards Lin Xian again. Little brat, just obediently go to hell. The great demon sneered. However, this was the truth. Lin Xian used the great dragon sword soul to split open the array formation. Boom. A vacuum area was created in the array formation, but it quickly healed. How strange. It could not be completely destroyed. He was too surprised. The great dragon sword soul was so powerful, but this array formation could be reborn. It was really surprising. However, he still created a vacuum area. Therefore, with his speed, Lin Xian rushed out. He charged towards the great demon again. The great demon snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, the terrifying array formation came to his side and enveloped him. This was equivalent to having an additional set of armor. Moreover, it was a set of armor that could be restored. Terrifying sword chi surrounded Lin Xian. In his hand, the great dragon sword soul released a terrifying light as he slashed forward. On the other side, the great demon activated the blood sacrifice array formation. Ghostly wails and wolf howls filled the air as if hell had reappeared in the mortal world. The two collided. The great demon was sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. A huge crack appeared in the blood sacrifice array formation in front of him. In the crack, all sorts of souls screamed and blood chi filled the air. A vacuum area appeared. The great demonic will revolved, and the blood-colored array formation began to heal. However, he was actually unable to completely heal it. The remnant aura on it was too strong, and it forcefully split the formation apart. Damn it, how could he be so strong? The demon was shocked and his face was really ugly. If it was any other half-saint in his place, then that half-saint would have probably died 1,000 times by now. Moreover, he wasn't an ordinary half-saint. But now he was unable to stop the other party. The black wings on his back appeared once more as the great demon madly displayed his secret technique. This time, crimson light shrouded his body. Clearly, he had activated his bloodline ability. His body instantly disappeared into the void. Not good. The dark red godly dragon unleashed an array formation to isolate it. But this time around, the secret technique of the great demon was extremely terrifying. It disappeared directly from the starry sky. Golden light flickered in Lin Xian's eyes. They transformed into two golden beams of divine light that pierced through the void as he stared fixedly into the distance. What incredible speed. This time even he was moved. He had to admit that the great devil was indeed a powerful enemy. But this time he was determined to kill him. With a stomp of his foot, he soared into the sky and charged out as well. Soon the two of them disappeared from this world of stars. Only then did the people in the world below dare to raise their heads. They looked at the shattered void and the remnant sword energy in the sky. They were extremely shocked. Heavens, have these two demon-like figures finally left? The great demon used his secret technique to avoid Lin Xian's pursuit. He flew again. 5 days later, his face completely darkened. Because he discovered that the other party had caught up to him again. Damn it, how did the other party find him? He didn't know. One had to know that if he wanted to leave, even a saint couldn't find him. The other party must have some other treasure that could see his tracks. On the 7th day, Lin Xian completely caught up to the great demon. The two of them started a huge battle. The great demon didn't hesitate and directly used the great destruction spear. Lin Xian also used the great dragon sword soul. The two of them fought until the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The two of them fought as they flew. Everywhere they passed, endless light flickered, illuminating the dark universe. Terrifying energy swept in all directions. In the end, the great demon's body shattered and was slashed apart by the sword. He dragged his broken body and used his secret technique again to escape. Just like that, he fled and fought. Lin Xian actually chased after him for more than half a year. During this half a year, the records of the array formations brought back by the 8 great families spread. Everyone knew that an unknown battle had happened in the Elven Forest on the Elven planet. Moreover, it was very likely that it was the most dazzling battle in the past few thousand years on the ancient path of stars. The great demon actually appeared. The successor of the 9 suns was actually so terrifying. Heavens, was the power of the great demon's great destruction spear so terrifying? It could definitely pierce through a saint. Damn it, what was the successor of the 9 suns holding in his hand? It could actually contend against the great destruction spear? Many powerhouses were shocked after watching the video of the battle. At the same time, they were even more puzzled. Where had the 2 of them gone? They didn't know. Those people from the 8 great families side. We don't know either. We chased them out of the planet, but the 2 of them were too fast and we couldn't catch up at all. This news spread at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, many worlds knew about it. When those young geniuses and older powerhouses saw this scene, they all sighed. Strong, they were simply too strong. Among the half-sages, no one could suppress the other party. In fact, even saints probably didn't have the confidence to suppress these 2 people. They might even be killed by these 2 people instead. At the same time, in the distant starry sky, another piece of news quickly spread. Lin Xian had chased after the great demon for more than half a year. This time he actually came to the vicinity of the Langya star. The Langya star was a very strange star world. In the outer realm, there were countless figures who had come to seek information. These people came from different worlds of stars. This time the great demon flew to the vicinity of the Langya star. His demonic aura overflowed into the sky. The powerhouses near the Langya star looked at him and their pupils constricted. Who was this person? The aura on his body was too terrifying. They were facing a great enemy. Great demon, you can't escape. Right at this moment, a biting cold voice came from the distant void. It was like thunder that resounded in all directions. Immediately after, a golden war god figure whose entire body was like fire rushed over. He held a divine sword in his hand and slashed out. A terrifying crack spread in all directions. Not good. When those people saw this scene, their scalps went numb and they hurriedly left. Countless spirit ships flew into the distance, and a vacuum appeared in the universe. The great demon turned his head and looked behind with a sinister expression. Damn successor of the 9 suns, don't go overboard. What? This was the great demon and the successor of the 9 suns. The people who had fled in the distance were stunned when they heard this news. Chapter 3275. These people were truly stunned. They didn't expect that this was actually a battle between the 9 suns and the great demon lineage. Is that true? They didn't even dare to believe it. This was a legendary battle. Among them, a small portion of people's expressions suddenly changed. Damn it, it's really them. I've heard about it before. Someone used an array formation. It recorded the battle between these 2 people. I've seen a little bit of it before. It was exactly the same as now. One was covered in monstrous demonic aura while the other was covered in flames. The 2 of them were the successors of the 9 suns and the great demon lineage. The one who spoke was a highly respected old man. His strength had reached the half-sage level and he was very powerful. Furthermore, he was very knowledgeable. Hence, everyone was convinced by his words. Now, all of them knew that the battle ahead was between the great demon and the 9 suns lineage. At this moment, that old half-saint who was of virtue and prestige, he spoke again. It was rumored that they were fighting in the elven forest of the elven planet. And it was half a year ago. Unexpectedly. They actually fought here. What? Elven planet. The surrounding powerhouses gasped when they heard this. That place was very far from here. It would take more than half a year to fly there. Did these 2 people fight from that place all the way here? They didn't dare to imagine how earth-shattering this battle was. And from the looks of it, these 2 people didn't even have a spirit boat. Could it be that they relied on their physical bodies to fly? Heavens, this was an incomparably cold universe. Only saints would dare to do this. They were extremely shocked. Some young geniuses didn't think much of it. In their opinion, the legends were definitely exaggerated. In terms of true strength, these 2 people were only SOSO. But soon, when they saw the battle ahead, they were all stunned. Those arrogant young geniuses from before trembled and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Because of the battle between these 2. It was simply too terrifying. No one among the half-sages could compare to them. In fact, they guessed that even saints were only SOSO. Retreat, retreat quickly. These people retreated crazily. At the same time, people from the Langya planet also came out. These Dao children originally wanted to shout coldly. Who was fighting here? One had to know that no one was allowed to fight in the star field around the Langya planet. This was the rule. However, at this moment there were actually people fighting. This made them extremely furious. However, when the two Daoist children came out, they were stunned. The scene in front of them also shocked them. Not good. At this moment in the world below, several elders rushed over. He hurriedly brought the two kids away. At the same time, the news spread to the people below. Soon, the Langya star shone brightly, and countless arrays appeared around it. These were all earth-shattering formations. They shone brightly and covered the entire Langya star, as well as the surrounding space. Whoosh! Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They were also enveloped by the array formation. The defensive array of the Langya star was a world-level array. It was extremely terrifying and was set up by a sage. At the same time, they were incomparably shocked. One should know that even the top geniuses and terrifying half-saints would be punished if they fought on the Langya star. At the very least, they would be chased out. At the very least, they would be crippled and thrown out. But now, the great demon and the successor of the Nine Yang lineage had received tacit approval. Even the Langya star had activated the array formation. It seemed that they did not want to interfere in this matter at all. Thinking of this, they gasped. The great demon and the Nine Yang lineage were indeed worthy of their reputation to be treated like this by the Langya star. Seeing that the Langya star had activated the defensive array formation, Lin Xian no longer had any worries. On the other hand, the great demon did not have any worries at all. He did not care about the Langya star. He would kill anyone who dared to stop him. The great spear of destruction in his hand swept out. The light of destruction directly shattered the void in front of him. Lin Xian swung the sword shadow in his hand and slashed out, shattering the space around him. The terrifying sword chi formed a world and flew forward. The collision of the two turned into a ray of light in the cold universe, illuminating millions of miles of the dark void. Inside the Langya star's array formation, the powerhouses and geniuses saw this scene and felt their scalps go numb. This was the attack of two half-saints? What a joke. This kind of energy could kill all of them. If not for the array formation's defense, they would have been dead by now. Could it be that two sages were fighting? They trembled in fear. The dark light from the great spear of destruction was destroyed by the great dragon sword soul. Not only that, the endless demonic chi in front of them was also split open, creating a large crack. The great demon spat out a mouthful of blood as if he had been struck by lightning. His expression became incomparably ugly. He once again activated the blood sacrifice array formation beside him, forming a set of battle armor that completely enveloped him. In the next moment, he roared angrily. Supreme demonic body. Black light appeared all over his body. He absorbed the surrounding energy and the aura of the sun and moon. His body was infinitely huge. He turned into a terrifying giant demon. His strength also skyrocketed. With a loud boom, this power was even stronger than before. Do you think you're the only one who has a physique? I have one too. Lin Xian shouted coldly, and the light on his body suddenly erupted. The Nine Yang divine fire burned. Lin Xian's body also continued to grow. He turned into an indomitable golden giant. At this moment, he was like a god of fire walking in the mortal world. This scene was too terrifying. It was simply like a legend. When the powerhouses in the array formation saw this scene, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. This was because in the originally cold void of the universe, only the stars were dazzling and huge. The others were as insignificant as dust. Only the powerful light on their bodies could illuminate everything. As for their bodies, they were very small. But now, the bodies of the successor of the Nine Yang divine fire and the successor of the great demon had become very terrifying. It was as if two giant gods were fighting. This was not just an ordinary body enlargement, which was meaningless. After the two of them transformed, their strength also increased terrifyingly. An ordinary semi-sage wouldn't be able to do this. One must have an extremely powerful physique to be able to do this. The Supreme Devil Body, the Nine Yang Divine Body, these were the strongest and most powerful physiques in the myriad of worlds. Perhaps only such physiques could cause such a phenomenon of heaven and earth. To be able to see such a top-notch battle, even if I die, I will have no regrets. Many veteran half-sages exclaimed in surprise. Their eyes lit up and they were extremely excited. The young geniuses were extremely shocked. They thought that they were powerful geniuses and did not put anything in their eyes. At this moment, in front of these two supreme existences, they were incomparably small. Any one of their physiques was an existence that they could only look up to. Some people frowned. Normally, these two people would be popular candidates to compete for the throne on the ancient path of the starry sky. But now, in this fated battle, one of them would probably die. When these words came out, everyone trembled. Their eyes widened. What? One of them was going to die here? There was no other way. These two people had supreme physiques. It would be a pity if one of them died. But there was nothing they could do. The two of them were mortal enemies. Chapter 3276. Chaotic Demon Fist. After transforming, the great demon's power was even more terrifying than before. The moment the chaotic demon fist was unleashed, countless demonic shadows flashed between heaven and earth. The terrifying fist exploded in all directions. However, Lin Xian had also transformed. He also had the appearance of a flame giant, so the 9-yang divine palm he unleashed was also incomparably terrifying. The battle between the two was earth-shattering. The great destruction spear once again swept across all directions. The great dragon sword soul also roared, transforming into a dragon shadow that shook the 9 heavens. The two's law fragments danced in the air, clashing in all directions. The half-saints inside the array formation felt their scalps tingle. Boom. The great dragon sword soul became more and more courageous as it fought. The surrounding law of fire danced, and at this moment, it was like a huge dragon that constantly attacked. It caused the great destruction spear to tremble repeatedly. In the end, one of its arms was severed, and the great destruction spear was sent flying again. Damn it! The great demon roared. However, at this moment the great dragon sword soul swept out and cut him in half. A miserable sound rang out, causing one's scalp to tingle. Although the great demon was cut in half, he did not die. His upper body erupted with a biting cold light. He opened his mouth and spat out a black demonic wave that directly pierced through Lin Xian. A bloody hole also appeared on Lin Xian's body. The battle between the two of them was extremely fierce. Both of their bodies were shattered, and both of them exploded into a bloody mist. Between heaven and earth, a terrifying sea of blood surged. However, in the end the two of them recovered once again. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. The three of them fought for 9 days and 9 nights. Inside the array formation the spectators were stunned. Was this the power of the great demon and the successor of the 9-yang bloodline? It was too terrifying. A casual move from the two of them could kill any one of them. Why do I feel that if they continue fighting like this, even if they fight until the end of time, the two of them won't be able to determine the victor? Some of the geniuses sucked in a cold breath, but there were also a few top half-saints who frowned. No, the victor would be decided soon. They could feel that the successor of the 9-yang bloodline's aura was becoming stronger and stronger. It could even be said that the great demon was being suppressed from the beginning to the end. However, the great demon was too powerful and his physique was terrifying. He could not die in a short period of time. Furthermore, a manual great destruction spear was extremely terrifying. It could penetrate Lin Xian's body. If not for the great destruction spear, the great demon would have been killed long ago. Boom. Boom. Suddenly, countless dragon shadows erupted from Lin Xian's feet, densely packed together, causing his speed to reach the extreme. At the same time, Lin Xian activated his heavenly secret divine eyes to analyze the opponent's flaws. In the blink of an eye, Lin Xian dodged 33 attacks. In the next moment he disappeared from the world. When he reappeared he was behind the great demon. His speed was so fast that most half-saints couldn't even catch him. Boom. Lin Xian's entire body shone with a golden light. Flames burned fiercely, and the great dragon sword soul in his hand roared. All of a sudden the great demon's hair stood on end. He flipped his hand and attacked. The great spear of destruction also pierced out. It was like a black demon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The great destruction spear was sent flying once more. The great demon was pierced through and split into pieces. Ah! The great demon screamed. He was broken into 8 pieces. He wanted to heal, but at this moment Lin Xian attacked again. The great demon wanted to heal with this slash. Suddenly he stopped in midair and hugged his head as he screamed. Damn it, how dare you injure my soul? He was crazy. His opponent's slash had actually injured his soul. This battle could end now. Lin Xian shouted coldly as he absorbed the spiritual energy of the world. The great dragon sword soul in his hand became more and more piercing. 9-yang sword technique. The terrifying sword technique turned the great demon's body into a bloody mist. At the same time he attacked his opponent's soul. Not good, the great demon was probably going to be defeated. Who would have thought that the successor of the 9-yang sword soul would be able to injure the great demon's soul in the end? With his soul injured, the great demon's power would be greatly reduced. At that time he wouldn't be a match for Lin Xian at all. Cries of surprise rang out one after another. They were simply too shocked by Lin Xian's methods. In the distance, a spirit boat floated in the void. When the dark red dragon saw this scene, it immediately became excited. Great, if this continued he would definitely be able to kill Lin Xian. He was too excited. For the past half a year, he had been following behind silently. He had watched the battle between the two of them. Although Lin Xian had the upper hand, it was too difficult to kill the great demon. But now Lin Xian had finally seized the opportunity to defeat his opponent's soul. Next, it was time to slay the great demon. Lin Xian stood in the void of the universe. Sword chi surrounded his body, making him look like a peerless god of war. He looked at the screaming great demon with a cold expression. The fated battle could end now. Since ancient times, the great demon and the Nine Yang lineage had been fighting each other. Among them, the Nine Yang lineage had more victories than losses. The previous Nine Yang sword saint was directly killed. However, the previous great demon was too heavily injured and eventually died at Black Demon Cliff. As the successor of the Nine Yang lineage, Lin Xian had also encountered a peerless enemy. However, he had not been defeated. Not only that, but he also had the strength to kill his opponent. He wanted to let the entire universe know that this time, the Nine Yang lineage would not lose. Everything was over. Lin Xian's figure was tall. With an aura that could devour mountains and rivers, he strode forward. Every step he took shattered the void. Opposite him, the great demon's screams softened. Clearly he had stopped the injury to his soul. However, it was impossible for him to return to his peak. At that moment, his body was barely healing as his entire body trembled. Defeated, I've actually been defeated. The great demon's eyes lost their luster. He had charged out forcefully and killed his way over. Half-saints could not even withstand a single move from him. In his opinion, the successor of the Nine Yang lineage was only SOSO. He could easily kill him. However, the other party was too powerful. Before he used the Great Destruction Spear, he was unable to do anything to the other party. In fact, he was even injured by the other party. Later on, he was furious and used the Great Destruction Spear to kill the other party. However, he did not expect the other party to have the Great Dragon Sword. In the end, his soul was injured and he ended up in his current state. Damn it, I can't accept this. Since ancient times, the Great Demon lineage had been incomparably powerful and suppressed the Nine Yang lineage. However, he was actually suppressed by the other party. He had utterly disgraced the Great Demon clan. So what if he was unwilling? Lin Xian walked over with a cold expression. He quickly raised the Great Dragon Sword in his hand. Now I'll send you to hell. A cold voice sounded, causing everyone's scalps to go numb. Was the Great Demon going to die? Ah, kid, are you trying to kill me? Too naive. Chapter 3277. I've lost to you today and I no longer have the face to continue living in this world. However, you can forget about living either. I can go to hell, but you can go to hell with me. The great demon revealed a sinister smile. At this moment he was really like a demon. His voice made people tremble. In the distance those people exclaimed, "Heavens, are they trying to perish together?" The great demon had failed, but it would not be easy to kill him. An elder said, 3,000 years ago, I once heard a dying living fossil say that the previous 9 sons and the great demon seemed to have perished together. What? There's actually such a thing? The surrounding people were stunned. They did not expect that the previous generation would have perished together as well. Could it be that this generation is going to perish together as well? Some people sighed. Thinking about it, it was normal. After all, both of them were peerless powerhouses who could support heaven and earth. When such people fought, there was an 80 to 90% chance that they would perish together. In the distance, in the spirit boat, the dark red dragon saw this scene and immediately became anxious. Damn it, what is this guy trying to do? Kit, hurry up and kill him. When Lin Xian heard this, he also frowned. You want to perish together with me? You don't have the right to do so. He attacked crazily, and the great demon opposite him revealed a sinister smile. A pair of black wings appeared on his back. He trembled gently and instantly disappeared into the void. When he reappeared, he was in another place. He had successfully dodged the sword. He stretched out his palm and on his 5 fingers, there were 5 pitch-black demonic runes. Each of them was incomparably mysterious. The demonic runes spun crazily in his hand. I'll sacrifice my blood to the demon god. The great demon began the blood sacrifice again. However, this time he did not kill the surrounding powerhouses. He used his own blood to carry out the blood sacrifice. The palm that was burning with the 5 demonic runes pierced through his body and then grabbed his heart out. The heart was covered with countless black runes that were burning rapidly. A terrifying and shocking power erupted from the great demon's body. This scene was too strange. The great demon was actually using his own life to increase his power. It seemed that the other party did not want to live anymore. The aura on his body quickly erupted. Endless demonic aura surged, causing his power to continuously rise. It had already far surpassed what it used to be. Above his head, his heart continued to burn, providing him with constant power. The great demon's power kept on rising, and it looked like he was about to break through to the Saint Realm. What kind of technique was this? Wasn't it too terrifying? This increase in strength was too terrifying. It seemed that the Nine Sons' descendant was in danger. The half-saints in the distance exclaimed. Lin Xian also frowned. He knew that he couldn't wait any longer and had to act quickly. His strength was raised to the extreme, and the great dragon sword soul in his hand was constantly brandished. He had to stop the blood sacrifice. With a slash of his sword, the giant dragon soared through the air and flew forward, wanting to crush the other party's heart. The demon laughed and slapped out. A black demonic palm covered the sky, and it was like a black sky was pressing down. Boom. Their attacks collided, causing the sky to fall and the earth to split. Fortunately, the people around them were inside the peerless formation. Moreover, it was set up by a saint, which was why the Langya star was in perfect condition. Otherwise, the entire world would be affected. Brat, it's useless. You can go to hell with me. The great demon attacked in a frenzy, unleashing all sorts of terrifying powers. Chaotic Demon Fist, World-Destroying Demon Disc, Great Destruction Spear, and Demon Swallows the World. All kinds of divine abilities emerged one after another, and the area in front of them was drowned by endless demonic chi. Lin Xian was sent flying in an instant, his body was torn apart. However, he quickly used the great dragon sword chi to wipe out all the demonic chi. At the same time, his eyes burst out with a piercing cold light. The fated battle has ended. My Nine Sons' descendant has won this palm strike. Now that you want to kill me with your blood sacrifice, I won't hold back either. In addition to the Law of Fire fragment, several other law fragments appeared around Lin Xian. They surrounded him and danced crazily. His strength was also rapidly increasing. What? When the people inside the formation saw this scene, their eyeballs almost popped out. Heavens, this Nine Sons' descendant actually didn't use his full strength. There were many more law fragments than before. He had actually grasped several law fragments. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, the 5 elemental laws. Was he going to walk the path of the 5 elemental laws? The half-saints of the older generation were also stunned. They didn't expect that after the great demon, the Nine Sons' descendant would also use all his trump cards. The great demon also frowned. Other law fragments? It's useless. Although you can increase your strength, it won't increase by much. The current you is no match for me. The great demon snorted and used all sorts of divine abilities. The two of them fought an earth-shattering battle. This battle was even more tragic than the previous one. However, even though Lin Xian unleashed several types of nomological law fragments, he was still suppressed. There was no other way. The great demon opposite him was burning his life force to fight. The power that erupted was too strong. Sure enough, in the next moment, the great destruction spear appeared and disappeared unpredictably. A powerful force pierced through his body and nailed him in the void. The great spear of destruction pierced through Lin Xian's body, causing it to explode into pieces. It was too tragic. Lin Xian gave a cold shout. The law of wood instantly enveloped him. His shattered body rapidly recovered. Heaven and earth rumbled as a terrifying power surged towards him. After Lin Xian used all his strength, his recovery ability was astonishing. In an instant he was as good as new. I said it's over. No matter what trump card you use, this battle is over. Lin Xian's expression was cold. The 6 great law fragments revolved around the great dragon sword soul. At this moment he didn't hold back at all. He poured all his strength into the great dragon sword soul. The great dragon sword soul let out a long cry. The 9 heavens and 10 earths shook. The surrounding array formation started to tremble. The people inside were terrified. What kind of sword was this? How could it be so terrifying? Lin Xian disregarded everything and urged the great dragon sword soul. Its power increased once again. With one sword, the various divine abilities of the great demon were all shattered. The great destruction spear was sent flying again. The great demon was also cut in half by the sword. This time the great demon's soul was severely injured. If it weren't for the great demon burning his life force, This sword would have been able to completely kill him. The great demon recovered with difficulty. His expression was incomparably ugly. Good boy, I still underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be able to seriously injure me even now. But unfortunately you still couldn't stop me. Now everything was over. Great demon laughed. The others felt their hair stand on end. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. He discovered that the great demon's heart had completely disappeared. Chapter 3278. Only a small part of the figure appeared. It was a head and two hands, but it was still struggling to get out. As soon as the figure appeared, the surrounding starry sky and universe trembled. The people in the array formation were also out of control. Many young prodigies knelt on the ground. Among them there were many half-step sage prodigies. However, at this moment they were kneeling on the ground, unable to move. Even those veteran half-saints were doing their best to resist, and many of them exploded with a loud bang. What was that? They knelt on the ground and screamed crazily. It was too terrifying. The aura of a sage. That was at least the phantom of a sage. Damn it, what did this demon summon? The phantom of the demon ancestor. Damn it, he couldn't have summoned a first-generation great demon, could he? What? The first great demon? Hearing that, everyone's heads were about to explode. What level was that? Even among the sages, it was a super powerful existence. It might even be a demon emperor. How was that possible? How could the great demon have such a method? Damn it, we were fooled by him. An old man who was like a living fossil screamed crazily. His blood sacrifice just now was not a summoning, but to increase his cultivation. He used his life as the price to temporarily increase his strength to the sage realm. Now it was a summoning. Indeed, they saw the great demon's face turn pale. He was trembling and the blood in his body was quickly flowing out. Many wrinkles also appeared on his face. It was as if he had aged hundreds or thousands of years in an instant. However, his hands continued to form seals. One terrifying seal after another was reflected in the void. He was summoning now. Crack, crack, crack. As the great demon summoned his life, more and more cracks appeared in the void above. More than half of the blurry figure's body had already squeezed out. Many cracks appeared on the surrounding sage array. This scene caused all the people inside the formation to be terrified. Oh heavens! Even the sage array could not withstand it? Not good, kid, run. It's too dangerous. In the distance, the dark red dragon saw this scene and quickly retreated. At the same time, he quickly transmitted his voice. It could not be helped. It was too dangerous. Even though he possessed the bloodline of the divine dragon, he could not help but shiver in the face of this illusory figure. This meant that the other party's bloodline power was no weaker than his. In addition to the aura, this was definitely a super saint-level phantom. Damn it. Even if he wasn't the first-generation great demon, he wasn't far from it. Lin Xian roared and used all of his strength to push the great dragon sword spirit to unleash a world-shaking attack. That sharp sword chi was tens of thousands of miles long. It slashed down from the sky and slashed forward. He wanted to send that figure flying. However, the moment his sword chi reached the vicinity of the demonic shadow, it began to crumble. It didn't even touch the demonic shadow before it disappeared without a trace. Brat, it's useless. What I've summoned is a first-generation great demon. You go to hell. I'm in hell waiting for you. At this point he had completely aged. His hair had turned white and his body was hunched over. In an instant he aged several thousand years. In the end, the great demon's body shattered into pieces and fell into the void. Dead. It was incomparably terrifying. The successor of this generation's great demon had exhausted his life force and turned into dust. Meanwhile, the phantom of the first-generation great demon, which he had used his life as the price to break through to the saint realm and then summoned, had completely broken free from the spatial rift and stood in the void. Although it was just a phantom, the moment it appeared, it suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 lands. At this moment, everyone uncontrollably knelt down. Boom, 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 boom. The surrounding saint's array shattered with a loud bang. Many terrifying cracks appeared on it, and it seemed like it would collapse at any moment. The half-step saints prodigies in the array formation also screamed crazily. Some of the weaker half-step saints' bodies had already shattered and turned into a bloody mist. The others were also kneeling on the ground, unable to stand up at all. It was too terrifying. The phantom of the first-generation great demon was terrifying to the extreme. Lin Xian also felt a great pressure. His body shattered and endless blood dyed his body red. However, he did not kneel down. He summoned the great dragon sword spirit back and fused with it. He became one with the sword. Lin Xian opened a domain and enveloped himself. Damn it, what is this? Lin Xian's face was extremely gloomy. The great demon had died, but he had left behind such a disaster. At this moment, the alarm had already sounded on the Langya star. All the powerhouses had gathered together, and the young disciples were trembling. In the depths of the earth, in some dragon and spirit veins, powerful and sleeping figures opened their eyes. His gaze pierced through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. However, when they saw the terrifying phantom standing above the 9 heavens, they all trembled. The first-generation great demon. Damn it, who summoned him? In an instant, figures flew up from the dozen or so dragon veins, bringing with them terrifying laws. They were true saints. As soon as they appeared, they attracted the worship of countless people. Patriarch, what should we do? Patriarch, please make a move and kill the powerful enemy. Protect the Langya star. Countless people shouted. However, the saints' faces were gloomy. They said coldly, everyone enter the array formation and activate it to the extreme to seal the entire Langya star. Patriarch, why aren't you attacking? That's just a phantom. The few powerful half-sages could not understand. However, the saints frowned. You don't know, that's not an ordinary phantom. That's the first-generation great demon. Even if it's just a phantom, it's not something we can resist. Only death awaits those who oppose him. Unless we're a super saint, we might be able to resist him. What? Is he that terrifying? All the cultivators on the Langya star were stunned when they heard the words of the saints. They knew that they had underestimated the phantom. They did not understand the word first generation, and did not know how powerful the other party was. However, they believed that their patriarch would not make a mistake. Therefore, everyone went underground. Mountain and river formations flickered one after another. Looking from the 9 heavens, countless large formations lit up on the Langya star, completely enveloping the entire star world. The Langya star was very powerful. There was only one faction in the star world, so after countless years of reproduction, it could be said to be impregnable. They were even confident that they could resist an extreme weapon. There were even rumors that there were super saints on the Langya star. However, it was obvious that those were the trump cards to suppress everything. They would not be activated unless they had no other choice. Although the phantom of the first generation had appeared, it did not directly attack the Langya star. Therefore, the saints were not willing to fight to the death with the other party. Chapter 3279. The Langya star shone brighter and brighter. Countless arrays were formed by mountains and rivers. Once they were activated, their power was terrifying to the extreme. Outside the Langya star, the half-step saints who came to ask questions were in danger. They couldn't enter the Langya star at all. At this moment, the saints' arrays that enveloped them had already shattered. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, they all turned into a bloody mist and kept shattering. The scene was extremely terrifying. Between heaven and earth, there was a rain of blood. The phantom of the first demon god was not limited to that. In addition to the Langya star, there were 2 other planets nearby. These 2 planets were relatively weaker, and their martial arts were relatively less developed. However, they had also evolved into saints. At this moment, the warriors of these 2 worlds all looked up at the sky. What exactly happened? Why was there an extremely terrifying power coming over? The half-step saints couldn't help but kneel on the ground. In the worlds, a few saints woke up. Their expressions were extremely ugly. Oh no, some super terrifying existence had probably arrived nearby. Who exactly was it? They had arrived outside the realm. In the next moment, these saints froze. They saw a figure in the distance. It was abnormally blurry, but the aura it emitted was extremely terrifying. Even though they were saints, they couldn't help but tremble. Oh no, hurry up and leave. The 2 saints immediately made up their minds and fled into the distance. They did not even look back as they used their strongest abilities to escape. The other 3 saints hesitated for a moment. But this time they lost their chance to escape. In front of them, the illusory figure that looked like a demon god suddenly let out a roar. Endless demonic chi surged in the 9 heavens and 10 lands. It engulfed everything. Oh no, hurry up and leave. The remaining 3 saints' expressions changed drastically as they hurriedly fled. They originally wanted to go down and save their sects and families. But now they couldn't care less. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. Damn it, this was the world-engulfing demon. He recognized it because he had fought with the great demon for half a year. Of course, he knew this ability. However, the world-engulfing demon that the demon god used was tens of thousands of times stronger than the great demon. Terrifying nomological laws danced in the air. Demonic chi surged into the sky and engulfed everything in an instant. Lin Xian flew quickly, but he was still surrounded by the demonic chi. It wanted to devour him. Damn it! Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. He fused with the great dragon sword spirit and poured all his power into it. In the next moment he was engulfed. Outside the Langya star, the half-saints who were still alive were swallowed in an instant. Wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves, the Langya star was shrouded in endless darkness, and the demonic aura was still spreading. The three sages who were fleeing in the distance were instantly enveloped by the demonic aura as soon as they moved. Immediately afterwards their scalps went numb. They did everything they could to resist, using all types of natural laws. This was the true might of the laws. It was many times stronger than that of a half-saint. But in the end they were still swallowed up. Boom. Not only them but the two worlds around them were also enveloped by demonic chi. The boundless universe was temporarily plunged into darkness. There was not even a trace of light. Damn it. The dark red divine dragon felt its scalp go numb as it fled like a madman. Previously, when the great demon had just summoned this devil shadow, he had already begun to flee. Now he had already left the star field far away, so he managed to avoid the calamity. Damn it. Looking at the endless demonic aura in front of him, the dark red divine dragon's face was extremely pale. It was too terrifying. Such a scene had only appeared during the great darkness turmoil back then. However, at that time, those ancient sages and human sages had held back. Because once they attacked with all their strength, they would destroy the entire star world. Therefore the scene back then was not as terrifying as it was now. This was equivalent to the attack of an extreme weapon. It's over, the people inside probably won't survive. Damn brat, you must let the great dragon sword soul retain a drop of your blood or remnant soul. The dark red divine dragon prayed in his heart. There was another reason why he had escaped. That was, the black earth was in his hands. Previously, when Lin Xian was chasing after the great demon, he had handed the black earth to the dark red divine dragon as a precaution. The octatic treasure snake was sealed inside. There were 7 eyes of time behind the octatic treasure snake. As long as he had the eyes of time, so what if he died? He could still revive him. Thinking of the eyes of time, the dark red divine dragon heaved a sigh of relief. He began to wait, waiting for the dark demonic aura to recede. However, this demonic aura was too terrifying. It couldn't dissipate in a short period of time. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed and there was no change in front. 3 months had passed, half a year had passed, and there was still dead silence in front. At the same time, the battle between the 9 suns and the great demon had completely spread, because the scene recorded by the 8 great families array formation had also completely spread. Many Star World powerhouses and Heaven's prides had seen this battle. Was this the great demon and the successor of the 9 suns? It was too terrifying. That's right. I wonder who this successor of the 9 suns is? They couldn't see clearly, his entire body was wrapped in flames. They could only see a pair of golden flame-like eyes and a majestic figure. Other than that they couldn't see anything else. They couldn't guess who he was at all? These 2 people were definitely the greatest enemies on the path of the great emperor. Many top explorers and peerless powerhouses had cold faces. They wanted to walk the path of the great emperor. They would definitely encounter these 2 people in the future. Could they beat them? They deduced in their hearts and soon smiled bitterly. Damn it, they couldn't beat them. These 2 people's abilities were too powerful. Facing such people they had no chance of winning at all. They didn't know where these 2 people were now. What was the result? Everyone was discussing animatedly. Many Heaven's prides and powerhouses from all over the universe began to search. Soon they realized that the situation was not right. This was because some Heaven's prides and powerhouses wanted to go to the Langya star to seek answers to their questions, but they found that the Langya star had disappeared. The star field where the Langya star was located was drawn into darkness. It was extremely dark and some people tried to force their way in. A half-step saint was instantly killed by the black aura. This scene made everyone's hair stand on end. When a half-step saint entered, he didn't even cause a ripple. This was definitely an extremely terrifying aura. But why would such a thing appear? Could it be that the Langya star was surrounded by this black aura? More and more powerhouses came to investigate. In the end even the saints came. 3 saints descended from the sky. They looked at the demonic aura in front of them with incomparably cold expressions. In the end, they concluded that this demonic aura seemed to be the demonic aura of the Great Demon clan. What, the demonic aura of the Great Demon? How was this possible? How could that Great Demon be so terrifying? This demonic aura which had the might of a saint. Impossible. Wasn't the Great Demon a half-step saint? Chapter 3280. After coming to this conclusion, everyone in the universe was stunned. It was indeed the aura of the Great Demon clan, but where did this demonic chi come from? We don't know. What kind of divine ability did this Great Demon use? The black chi near the Wolf Fang star attracted everyone's attention. Many experts came over to investigate, but in the end they didn't know what kind of divine ability it was. The Great Demon and the successor of the 9 sons. Could it be that they had perished together? They didn't know that all of this was a mystery. At the same time, some families and sacred grounds were also anxious. They discovered that the people they sent to the Langya star had disappeared. There was no news at all. Why do I feel that something went wrong? Yes, it was too strange. Some sacred grounds and sects joined forces with many worlds and invited a few sages to take action. Vast sage laws danced between heaven and earth, and the demonic chi in front of them trembled violently. However, these sages frowned. They couldn't get rid of the demonic chi. The demonic chi even began to surge, sending a few sages flying. Those sages vomited blood, and their expressions became extremely ugly. Not good. They quickly retreated. When the others learned of this scene, their eyes almost popped out. Even the sages were defeated. What was this? It was over. Everything within the range of the demonic chi would probably be turned into ashes. Nothing could be left. This was the consensus of everyone. After all, if even the sages couldn't resist the demonic chi, who else could? It seemed that they could only wait for the demonic chi to dissipate on its own. Everyone left. They were no longer disappointed. The star field where the Langya star was located had become a land of death. A sage used his laws to set up a stone tablet here, warning people on the ancient starry sky path not to approach. The cold universe returned to silence once again. Of course, no one knew that there was a spirit ship floating near the black chi waiting quietly. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. The area ahead was still silent and pitch black. This was still a forbidden land of death. The battle between the Great Demon and the 9 sons had caused an uproar in the past 3 years. The experts of all worlds were discussing it. However, recently, it gradually calmed down because the 2 of them had completely disappeared. In the past 3 years they had never appeared even once. Many people guessed that the 2 of them had perished together, swallowed up by the demonic chi. Peerless geniuses and experts were nothing when they died. Only those who were alive would be remembered forever. The world of cultivation was just that cruel. Moreover, although 3 years wasn't a long time, it was enough time for the top geniuses to shine. Over the past 3 years, many geniuses had risen to prominence and made their names known on the ancient road of the stars. There were also a few who fell, becoming a pile of yellow earth and dust. The world of cultivation was a cruel place. The sea had turned into mulberry fields. The 9 sons inheritor and the Great Demon had become legends. However, there were a few people who were like dazzling superstars that rose to power. One of them was like the sun at noon. His name was Yan Nantian and he was the successor of the great emperor. Other than him, the others were also very strong. For example, Long Zhaotian, Zhao Wuliang, and the others were all ranked in the top 5 of the Abyss leaderboard. Of course, even though their rankings were at the bottom, Willow Wood and the others' cultivation had also increased by leaps and bounds. They even decided to go to the Abyss rankings once more to refresh their rankings. This action made countless people look forward to it. One had to know that some people's rankings were from decades ago or even hundreds of years ago. No one knew how much these people's strength had grown in the past 100 years. However, there would definitely be a storm on the Abyss leaderboard. However, when they went to the Falling Abyss, they found that the Falling Abyss was temporarily closed. They couldn't enter to test it. This made many people sigh. Of course, this wasn't the first time such a thing had happened. Therefore, these people were relatively calm. However, many experts sighed. They couldn't see the changes in the Abyss leaderboard. Of course, some people began to evaluate the strength of these people based on their own speculations. Yan Nantian has been too strong recently. He's like the sun at noon. I think if he enters the Abyss leaderboard again, he'll probably get first place. Yes, although Di Ling is terrifying in recent years, he has become very mysterious and elusive. There's no trace of him at all. Therefore we don't know what his situation is now. There's also this Lin Wudi who is tied with Di Ling for first place. He seems to have mysteriously disappeared recently. This Lin Wudi actually has an advantage. When he took the test, many top geniuses at that time had been ranked for decades or centuries. Therefore it didn't count at all. He stood in this gap and took first place. Otherwise, if they compete now, his ranking will probably fall. I think he won't even be able to enter the top 5. Indeed, I think Yan Nantian has the strength to be first. After him, the second should be Long Zhaotian. Zhao Wuliang is also very strong. I wonder how he compares to Long Zhaotian? Perhaps the two of them are tied. Perhaps Long Zhaotian is a little stronger. However, these 3 people will definitely be the new top 3. These people became more and more excited as they talked. Some people even wanted to take the first place of Di Ling and Lin Wudi. Regarding the Abyss leaderboard, many experts and geniuses from the stellar realm were discussing it. Some people had even started to challenge and compete. Most of them were the top geniuses on the leaderboard. Could be said that for a time, the ancient path of the stars was very lively. Of course, there was one exception, and that was the star field where the Langya star was located. There was still no one here. Because no one dared to come here, not even the saints. There was no one around. However, on this day there was a change in the endless dark demonic chi in front of them. In the past 3 years, the monstrous demonic chi had not weakened at all. However, on this day it rapidly weakened. It was even disappearing at the speed of collapse. What was going on? The dark red dragon in the nearby spirit ship was immediately alarmed. He looked at the scene in front of him and was very surprised. What was going on? Why did the demonic chi disappear? According to his speculation, the demonic chi would exist for at least 100 years or even a few hundred years. However, he was already prepared to wait here. Even if he had to wait 500 years, he would wait until the demonic chi dissipated. He was using the Eye of Time to save Lin Xian. However, he did not expect that in just 3 years, the demonic chi in front of him would disappear. Could it be that the demonic shadow had disappeared? The dark red dragon's eyes flickered. Thinking about it, it was possible. Although the great demon was terrifying and had burned its life to summon it, it was still a summon after all. It could not exist in this universe forever. Chapter 3281. The dark red dragon guessed, but he did not care about the specific reason. As long as the demonic chi disappeared, it was a good thing for him. The demonic chi disappeared very quickly. In the blink of an eye, more than half of it disappeared between heaven and earth, and the scene inside was also revealed. The shattered void was quickly healing and the surroundings were pitch black. There were originally 3 worlds here, but 2 of them had disappeared. If one looked carefully, they would find that the worlds were full of cracks and were torn apart. The 2 worlds had been completely destroyed. The warriors and billions of living beings on the worlds were all killed. No one could escape. Even the saints were destroyed in body and soul. The dark red dragon steered the spirit boat and quickly shuttled through the void. When he saw this scene, his scalp went numb. Damn it, it's too terrifying. What kind of strength does he have to be able to create such a terrifying scene? With one strike, 2 worlds were destroyed. The dark red dragon's face was extremely gloomy because he felt that Lin Xian was probably in danger. The demonic chi retreated very quickly, and the dark red dragon shuttled through the void at an extremely fast speed. Finally, he saw a speck of light in front of him. It was the Langya star. At this moment, the array formation on the Langya star had become dark, and many places were full of cracks. Some places were cracked. However, most of the places were fine. It seemed that the Langya star was not destroyed and had survived. As expected of a mysterious world on the ancient path of the stars. Could actually survive. The dark red dragon was surprised. He glanced at it and no longer paid attention. He quickly searched for Lin Xian's figure. The surroundings were dark and cold, and resentment was monstrous because countless powerhouses and half-step saints had died here. Damn that kid, he's not dead, right? The dark red dragon was a little anxious. He still could not find any trace of Lin Xian. No, the great dragon sword soul should not have been destroyed. He quickly sensed his aura. The dark red dragon searched his soul in all directions. Whoosh. When the darkness faded a little, the dark red dragon suddenly screamed. I sensed it. He flew out of the spirit boat and quickly flew forward. Soon he arrived at a place. In front of him, the shadow of a dragon flickered and coiled up. The light it emitted was much dimmer, like a lonely lamp in the night. I found it, the great dragon sword soul. The dark red dragon became excited. Not only did he see the great dragon sword spirit, but he also saw Lin Xian. At this moment, Lin Xian was surrounded by the great dragon sword spirit. His body was damaged beyond recognition. His entire body had turned into a skeleton, and all his blood had flowed out. However, the dark red divine dragon was extremely excited. He had originally thought that there were only a few drops of blood left, but now it seemed that the situation was much better than he had imagined. "Kid, are you alright?" The dark red dragon rushed over and asked a few questions, but there was no response. He struck out with a great divine ability, wrapping around Lin Xian and bringing him away. At this time, the golden bone suddenly trembled slightly, and two small golden flames lit up in its eye sockets. Following that, Lin Xian sent a spiritual message. He wasn't dead yet, so he had to leave quickly. After saying those words, the flame in the golden eye sockets disappeared. The dark red divine dragon was overjoyed. Great. He wrapped Lin Xian up and sent him into the spirit boat. In the next moment he activated the spirit boat, streaked across the void and instantly disappeared. Not long after he left, all of the darkness in the entire starfield vanished. After a while, the Langya star suddenly emitted an incomparable light, and the array formation on the mountains and rivers quickly disappeared. The martial artists on the ground quickly woke up and flew up. They waited for a while and found that the darkness had indeed retreated. They heaved a sigh of relief. Some powerful half-step saints and geniuses flew away and came to the outer realm. When they saw the cold universe around them and nothing was left, they were all shocked. Could it be that the darkness had really retreated? What about the successor of the 9 suns? If they didn't know, they would have died long ago. Damn it. The great demon actually attacked our Langya star as well. Many people's faces turned cold. Indeed, a portion of the Langya star's array formation had been shattered, and demonic chi had entered. The monstrous aura there had formed a forbidden land of death. But overall they were already doing very well. Soon they sent people to search the entire star field and they found 2 destroyed star worlds. When the news came back, the warriors of the Langya star were all stunned. Were the 2 worlds destroyed just like that? None of them escaped. How was that possible? Some of the younger martial artists were trembling. They also knew about those 2 star worlds, because they were not far from them. Although the martial path was not as developed as theirs, there were still saints there. But now, everything was reduced to ashes. Langya star, Langya pavilion. A few old men sat there with cold expressions. They were holding ancient tortoise shells in their hands. It seemed that they were divining something. Crack. Suddenly, a tortoise shell in front of them quickly formed a military formation. It split into 2 halves from the middle as if it was split by a saber. Seeing this scene, an old man in a star robe sighed. The great demon should be dead. Let's see what happened to the successor of the 9 suns. Next they divined again. This time the tortoise shell shattered into pieces with a bang. That energy gave them a fright. Their expressions were incomparably cold. At that moment an old voice sounded from the void. Stop divining the successor of the 9 suns. In addition, inform everyone that no matter who asks about the successor of the 9 suns in the future, they are not allowed to spread the news to avoid causing trouble. Yes. In the main hall, the old men quickly responded. At the same time they were extremely shocked. One had to know that they were using extremely advanced and terrifying divination techniques. Previously, when they were divining the life and death of the great demon, the tortoise shell had split into 2 halves from the middle. That meant that the person was already dead. When they recommended the successor of the 9 suns, the tortoise shell had also cracked, but it did not split from the middle. Instead, it split into pieces and exploded. That was a warning. That meant that the successor of the 9 suns had some kind of energy that prevented them from divining. It even posed a threat to them. Could it be that the successor of the 9 suns was not dead? These elders were extremely shocked. They sucked in a breath of cold air. No way. That terrifying demonic energy had destroyed the 2 nearby worlds, but the successor of the 9 suns was not dead. They really did not dare to believe it. How did the other party block it? Or could it be that the other party had some way to revive the dead? However, with such terrifying destruction, even a saint had been killed. Could it be that the other party had an immortal medicine? They did not know that. However, they felt that the successor of the 9 suns was not dead. Chapter 3282. However, they were the only ones who knew about this. They would never spread the news. The demonic aura receded and the reappearance of the Langya star alarmed the others once again. Many people from all the realms in the universe flew over to investigate the ancient starry sky path. Where was the great demon? Where was the successor of the 9 suns? They were extremely shocked. Did they really perish together? When they saw the 2-star realms shatter into pieces, they were stunned. Heavens, I remember that these 2 worlds used to be full of vitality. Moreover, there were billions of living beings and there were sages among them. Why is there no vitality at all now? Furthermore, they were torn apart. Could it be caused by the demonic aura? Thinking of this, they gasped. It's over. The successor of the 9 suns is definitely dead. Both worlds were destroyed. He definitely wouldn't be able to survive. These people shook their heads and sighed. They felt that there was no need to ask anymore. In fact, some of the young geniuses heaved a sigh of relief. They had all seen the battle between the great demon and the successor of the 9 suns and were shocked. If the 2 of them were alive, the threat they posed would be too great. Perhaps only a few people, such as the princes and princesses and the successors of thearchs, would be able to fight against such existences. Other than that, the others were simply not enough. But now, these 2 extremely powerful experts had actually perished together. Well, that meant that they had lost 2 super powerful enemies. Planet Suzaku. In the spirit vein of the mountains, a handsome man stood with his hands behind his back. There was a formation in front of him and news was coming from it. They were really dead. They had perished together. What an unexpected harvest. This man was Yan Nantian. When he learned that Lin Xian and the great demon had perished together, he smiled. This way there would be very few people who could threaten him. What successor of the 9 suns? What great demon? They were all killed by my little trick. The only one who can become other arch is me. Yan Nantian's eyes shone with a cold light. In the cold void of the universe, a slender man with a serious look in his eyes was followed by a beautiful woman. At this moment she was also frowning. Was that kid really dead? Sigh. The slender man sighed and shook his head. The news had already spread and it seemed like it was true. After all, the demon was his nemesis. Moreover, according to the people of the Langya Star, the great devil burned his life to summon the first devil king. That was an extremely terrifying existence. That person's attack had destroyed 2 worlds. It was likely that Lin Xian would not be able to survive. The news spread everywhere. Those who were ranked at the top of the Abyss leaderboard all received the news. They all had different thoughts. Some were regretful, some were gloating, and some were happy. However, they didn't know that there was an extremely ordinary world of stars on the ancient path of stars. Inside, the dark red mystical dragon descended. He found an extremely secluded place and set up an array formation. Then he brought Lin Xian into the black earth. The dark red divine dragon did not hesitate to use an eye of time. The octatic treasure snake was already confused by the illusion, so it obediently used the eye of time. A scarlet eye appeared on its back, flickering with incomparably mysterious runes. Then it slowly healed. But something miraculous happened. An incomparably mysterious aura appeared on Lin Xian's body. That was the power of time. Time reversed, causing Lin Xian's heavily injured and dying body to rapidly recover. In almost the blink of an eye, Lin Xian had already recovered. If others saw this scene, they would definitely be stunned. Even saints would be scared to death. One had to know that the injuries he suffered could not be healed without a few hundred years. But now Lin Xian had recovered in the blink of an eye. To be able to cause such a scene, it was probably only the legendary elixir of immortality. What a magical thing. The dark red divine dragon swallowed his saliva wildly. Now there were only 6 Eye of Time left. No wonder there was still a certain number of octatic treasure snakes in the past. But it was because of the Eye of Time that the octatic treasure snakes were extinct. Lin Xian being able to subdue an octatic treasure snake was really a pleasant surprise. Otherwise, although he wouldn't be dead now. But if he wanted to recover to his peak, it would take 1 to 200 years. And this time was too long. Especially on the road to becoming a great emperor, he would be left far behind. Kid, how do you feel? The dark red divine dragon raised his head and looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief and looked at his own body. What a miraculous power. I actually recovered completely. Not only that, but my memories haven't reversed. I still remember the previous battle. Was this the Eye of Time? It was really too mysterious. The power of time was too strange. Even Lin Xian couldn't capture it at all. He couldn't even understand it. The first thing he did after recovering was to use the eye technique on the octatic treasure snake again. After tasting the magic and terror of the Eye of Time, Lin Xian felt more and more that he had to subdue this octatic treasure snake. He wouldn't kill it. He wanted it to live well and even reproduce. After using the illusion technique on the octatic treasure snake again and making sure there were no accidents, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Then he asked about what happened after he was wrapped up by the World Devourer demon. The dark red divine dragon gave a simple explanation. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. Other than the shocking news of his battle with the great demon, there wasn't anything else. Kid, what do you plan to do next? The dark red divine dragon asked. I'll go into seclusion to comprehend and cultivate. Because I came back from the dead this time, I have a new understanding of heaven and earth. I even have a new understanding of life. After that, it's time to look for Yan Nantian to settle things. Mentioning Yan Nantian, Lin Xian's eyes erupted with a biting cold light. It was Yan Nantian who leaked his information to the great demon, causing the great demon to chase after him. This method of borrowing a knife to kill someone was really sinister. Although Lin Xian had killed the great demon, he still wouldn't let Yan Nantian off. Alright, then you go and cultivate. The dark red divine dragon said. Then he called Little White and the two left. Lin Xian sat down cross-legged again. This time it was as if he had died once and come back to life. He had a new understanding of heaven and earth, nature and life. Therefore he had to quickly comprehend it. Previously, the World Devourer demon used by the first great demon was too shocking. That power that could destroy everything was shocking. This was the same for Lin Xian. Moreover, he had a deeper feeling than others. Because this attack was aimed at him. His fire laws of nature fragment was also rapidly improving. A trace of destructive power was channeled out from the middle. Lin Xian comprehended the fire laws of nature and based on his experience of the World Devourer demon, he created an ultimate move, Annihilation Fiery Lotus. This was called a law mystique. Compared to the fragments of ordinary usage methods, the power of these fragments was much stronger. Generally, only a true sage could create a law mystique. But now Lin Xian had succeeded in creating it in advance. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.